Hey, good evening and welcome to our last meeting of December 2025. I know it certainly doesn't seem like it, but Christmas is just a short 10 days away. Thank you for joining us. Today is Monday, December 15th for the regular North Pole City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Skips? Ms. Rolfe?
Here.
Mr. Claus?
Here.
Mr. Schuster?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Mayor Church?
I am here. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and then the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before Thee at this time with gratitude in our hearts for this wonderful season that we have to be a witness to the world of hope and peace and love. We ask Thee to please help us, that we may take the spirit of Christmas wherever we go, that we can lend a helping hand and have the courage to speak up and stand up for that which is right. We ask Thee to please bless the members of this council, that they may receive inspiration and guidance according to what they need to do with their stewardships that they have been handed and agreed upon. And we say these things in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Williams, for the pledge, and Mr. Keller for the invocation prayer. That was very nice. Thank you, sir. Brings us to item 4, citizens' comments. Madam Clerk.
Any person wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda needs to sign up on the list located on the public testimony table. Respectful standards of decorum and courtesy should be observed by all speakers. Remarks should be directed to the council as a body rather than one member of the council or staff. Comments are limited to 5 minutes.
Do we have anyone signed up online who would like to give?
We do not.
Okay. Anyone in the room for citizens' comments? There's a list. Yeah, just whoever's up, take a spot. Understood. Thank you for that.
Good evening. My name is Adam Rolfe. I live on Lake Drive. I come before you guys for some troubling news. So on November 9th, or November 5th, sorry, I submitted a public records request to the city for the ChatGPT history of the mayor. Filed the request on the 5th. 10 days later, I still heard nothing. On the 24th, which was 12 days after the initial request, I was presented with it would require 2,000 to 2,500 pages at 25 cents a page to complete this request. Nothing in my public records request indicated that I wanted anything printed, and I specifically asked for everything in its original format from ChatGPT. After that was clarified, then yet again, the goalpost moved, and then, oh wait, there's redactions that need to happen now. And 40 to 60 hours of redactions. And I agreed to those terms, and yet have another goalpost moved, that the invoice that was given to me that I agreed upon was wrong. So now, a month and a half later, I still have heard nothing. No records were produced, no closer to actually getting them. At this point, there is no other option other than taking it to court to file an injunction on the mayor or the city or however that works. I would like to avoid that. I would just like the records, but if I can't get the records, then I will have to move that forward. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Certainly, please.
So my question, Mr. Rolfe, is if you do wind up taking it to court on Thursday, I believe, that's obviously going to cost some money on your
Absolutely.
part. What would you guess the cost to the city of North Pole might be?
That I don't know, but a whole lot more than what I'm paying for the 40 to 60 hours or what I've agreed to pay. It would probably cost the city a lot more than that.
Did you get much of a response from council when you sent your email to us?
I got one, two, three responses. So, and I do appreciate everybody who did respond to me. I do appreciate that.
All right. I would like to see it resolved out of court myself, but thank you.
Councilman Brandt.
So in your email to us, you stated that you supplied a thumb drive to the mayor to download the electronic.
Correct. Oh, technically I supplied two. The first one wasn't good enough because it was feared of nefarious software. So I had Walmart hand deliver it without me touching it at all to the city to download onto and provide to me. As of right now, it's still here, but as
Do you
far as
know
I know.
how long ago that was?
That was on the 12th, I believe. No, 24th
Of November.
November. Yes.
And this is, so in your letter, it says that he's claiming 2,500 double-sided pages would need to be copied. So that's 5,000 pages, basically. This is the second public records request. The first public records request, he responded to saying that he used it only 19 times in the last year.
Correct. That's over a year, but yes.
Right.
I think it's 13 months, but yeah.
So 19 times, so that's several hundred pages per time he used it. And in that first public records request that he returned that had those 19 times, was there anything in there that he claimed he used it for that, in your opinion, would need to be redacted?
No, there was no titles that indicated any kind of public or employee information was given. And they were just fluff. I mean, in my mind, but there wasn't anything that needed to be redacted per the subject lines that were provided.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Sure. Councilman Claus.
Thank you, Mayor. You had mentioned a particular Alaska statute, state statute that governs public records requests. Would you mind reading that, please?
So the 2ACC 96 gives 10 days unless notified that more is needed to fill the request. I have never been given we need more time to request. And at this point, it's been past the allotted time in that statute that the Attorney General would have to grant more time. He would be the only one to be able to grant the more time.
So would it be reasonable to expect that perhaps instead of a lawsuit, one might decide to go to file something with the Attorney General's office?
It's an option.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Rolfe. Appreciate that. Anyone else signed up? Good evening, Tammy. How are you?
How about you? First of all,
Wonderful.
I'm not here as a borough representative. I'll be here next month for that. This is not my month. So just had three quick items. First, I'd like to thank the police department. They took a very happy 8-year-old to shop with a cop. And I don't know, it was Officer Templin. You couldn't have had more friendly. You could tell before they even left the driveway that she probably already gave her whole life story and everybody else's. But the impression she had when she came back is something that I know will go with her for a very long time. And I know that's on their extra time. So thank you to everybody in the department that did that. That was amazing. Also, a little challenge. On January 10th, we're going to have a chili cook-off here in North Pole. At Hotel North Pole, we have 4 legislators who've already said yes, and it'd be awesome to have the mayor and some city council members as well. It will be the first annual prize. And they wanted to give everybody a ribbon, but that's kind of cheating. We want winning chili. So if you'd like to, please let me know. It'll be from 5 to 7. We're going to be sending out invitations. It's a fundraiser send-off to our legislators. We do one every year. And so not to expect anything back from them, but just have a fun time with those of our friends in North Pole. And then the other reason I am here as a Borough Assembly member. I have an ordinance number 2025-29 that will be on this Thursday's agenda. And you're like, wow, you didn't give me much time. But wait, don't get all caught up in it. So this is about using electronic collars versus leashes when you're out there walking your dogs. We heard from some people who have horses and trying to have a leash, and doing that can become very dangerous. We've had other things so this ordinance actually went through the Animal Control Commission to start with. They didn't really have a lot of time to do it, so I'm going to tell you what it does and then what my expectation hopefully be on Thursday. I'm assuming everybody is familiar, electronic collars, they put them around the animal, and then it has, electric shock if they absolutely need it, but it's really a training tool. But they still use them when they're out in the public in case something would happen to do it. One of the big questions I got at the assembly is, how do you know if it's in the command of the owner? Well, if you say, here, Fido, come here, and he doesn't, they're not underneath voice command. So there really is no argument over it. So what this does is it defines that an electronic collar is securely attached to an animal that is accompanied by a person who is no more than 4 feet from the animal and who is physically and mentally capable of monitoring, directing, and restricting the animal's movements and activities. It makes it to where if an animal, for any reason, has been deemed a dangerous animal, or there's anything going with the animal control officers, you cannot use electronic ones. One of the things that they did ask us in the Animal Control Commission is, what was the downtown area? They were very concerned that some of the big activities that happen, Golden Days and things like that. So the designation of the downtown areas, the Downtown Association has that definition. So really the big bulk of Fairbanks electronic collars would not be able to be utilized underneath any circumstances whatsoever. We did not take anything out of North Pole. That would be up to you if you would think that that would be necessary. Most of these animals are very well trained. Many of the communities, including Anchorage and Matsu, already have electronic collar restraints when they come with that. My ask, and I did this at the work session, was to ask for this to go back to the Animal Control Commission. They felt, in my opinion, after I've listened to it, that they really wanted a lot of different changes, but didn't feel like they had the time because they only had one meeting. So I'm not planning on putting in that kind. I'm going to meet with Mayor Hopkins. We're going to go over it and give them at least 2 more meetings. They have one in January, then they'll have another one in March. So April would be the soonest that we would expect it back. The reason it's come before us is because people have been using them, and then they get stopped by animal control and have been told nobody's got a ticket, as far as I know. It's been an educational purpose to let them know that we don't allow that. Every dog has to be on a leash if it's off of your property or not on somebody else's private property that they've been allowed to be on. So I know there's a lot of concern because everybody thinks they're going to all go out by electronic collars all over town, which I don't see that happening. because it really takes a lot of training to be able to do it. And they still, again, have to be in voice command to do it. It's not enough just to have the collar on it and have them 4 feet. You also have to have control of the animal as well. And it can only be one at a time. That really wasn't my choice, but we want to try things out. We want things to work out. I haven't heard back from all the communities, but I did ask and request, have they had any trouble? Did they see any negative things? And so far, I haven't received anything. And I haven't even been able to find much online either. It's just people more concerned about what could happen versus what it did happen. So that will come up for public comment on Thursday night. I'm hoping my members will give any, additions and to this so that we can take a different product to the Animal Control Commission and then get their say-so on it as well and then bring it back. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Brandt.
Are these allowed, excuse me, anywhere else in the state? And have you had any feedback on?
So Anchorage and Matsu both do, and I didn't read, and I actually wrote an email out and asked if they'd had any, kind of negative response, and I'm assuming they haven't because they didn't write back.
Councilwoman Roll.
Is there a definition of shock collar? Because there are some shock collars that don't actually shock the animal, they vibrate. Would that qualify?
That would probably be a question for our attorney. I would assume they would because they also make shock collars that can go, like, from my understanding, a long way away. And that was another concern of animal control, was how close would the animal have to be to the owner? And that's why we specifically designated that, especially like if you're on a trail, you don't want your dog going before you do, even if the dog's not going to do anything, just because some have very bad experiences. And we want to make sure this is a friendly type of attitude. But I can ask that question on Thursday night.
Any more questions? Thank you for being here this
Merry
evening.
Christmas. We hope to see one of you Thursday night.
Jerry Billion, not a city resident. This professor told his students that I've got an assignment for you, and with no word requirement. It can be as small as you want, it can be as large as you want. And the assignment is to define risk. So the one student got a blank piece of paper and he wrote in the center of the paper, "this," with an exclamation point, and turned it in. If you don't understand that, see me afterwards. I'm here for two reasons. One, Friends of the North Pole Park and Recreation Project we presented to you before, and I want to give you an update. It's a 75-acre parcel off Doobie Road, and we are in the process of working with a lease with the borough. Some of you people know about that. We presented here before. And it has taken a while. We've been at this for a while. And good things don't always happen overnight. The lease is going well. Some of the things in the lease that they gave to us were not acceptable to the group. So we worked on that and sent it back in, requesting the things that would work for us. I'm not going to detail all those pieces and parts. It's not important. And so that took a while, and finally, through the negotiation process, they have agreed. So this is a good thing. So the next thing that happens is we're going to get it on the calendar for the Borough Assembly, because there's going to be some code changes and there'll be some change that has to happen. So the Borough Assembly has to vote on it. So that's what we're waiting for right now, is a calendar date. So that's looking good. And so the other part of this is I really appreciate North Pole leaning in and supporting this. This is going to be a fantastic thing for North Pole. It's going to be a fantastic thing for the whole community. And it's going to turn into a year-round recreational site for North Pole, winter and summer, when we're finished. So, and we're doing this on the cheap for right now. We've kept track last summer how many people are coming in and out of there right now, and there's a lot. We have a makeshift gate on the place. We brought gravel in. We've cleared some trees out of there. We've done some work on it, so everything's looking good. The second part that I'm here to talk to you about is the America 250 and the Grange, and particularly the 4th of July, because at some point, this celebration is going to end up over at Newby Park. But for right now, it is at the Grange, and they're out of room. And I would ask the council to pay real close attention to giving assistance to that, for that celebration for North Pole. And this has to do with your bed tax money. And so North Pole Rotary Club is completely behind them. I am, the whole community is. And so please, when you listen to John Poirier come up here and talk about this celebration, pay attention and please put some effort into supporting that. Questions?
Please,
Yes.
Councilman Brandt.
As far as the Newby Park lease,
Yeah.
I remember in a couple of the meetings that there was a question about whether or not you would be able to sell the trees that you cut down.
Well, that's part of the
That's up to
negotiation
council.
process. So that's looking good for us. Yeah. It was not done yet. We haven't signed, so it's not over yet, but it all looks good. Everything's looking good. So this is going to be a good thing. So any help the city can give us and lean into that, that's a good thing.
Other questions? Jerry, thank you for your work with Friends of Newby Park. It's great to see that working its way into something really big for our community. Appreciate your efforts and the group efforts to make that happen.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, I'm Howard Rixey. I'm here to talk on behalf of the chamber right now. So a couple things there. One, we noticed you have a resolution as far as bed tax goes, and part of that is supporting the North Pole Chamber and more specifically the Welcome Center. So we appreciate any consideration on that. The other is putting the Welcome Center on the capital improvements list for the legislative thing. Again, we appreciate that. Hopefully it'll go a long way. But I just wanted to spend a couple moments there. I think that the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce has had a great year, along with the community of North Pole there. But just more recently, Saturday was the Winterfest, and that went off really well. We do want to publicly thank the North Pole Lions and Guerrilla Fireworks for what I think was a fantastic fireworks. I'm a little biased on that, but that's fine. We also had the Christmas celebration at the high school yesterday, and we made the front page and the back page, I guess, of the A section. So that was good. And at that particular event, we coronated our new king and queen. So if you don't know, Jill and Walt Armstrong is our new king and queen. So we appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to mention was this Thursday is our annual awards luncheon. So if you don't know, so annually the chamber recognizes basically 4 awards. One is Business of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, Citizen of the Year, and then Pioneer of the Year. And so we've solicited nominations from the community wide there, and we got lots of nominations, and the winners will be announced and presented at the luncheon. I really would encourage y'all to take time out, come to Hotel North Pole from 12 to 1 and see who actually the winners are, along with meeting some of the nominees that may not be the eventual winner, but to me, they're a winner just by being nominated by the community itself. So I would encourage you to do that. We'll also be doing kind of a year in review of what the chamber has accomplished over this past year. And then I guess just for the record, so this is my last month as the president of the chamber, just by bylaws there. So our new board will meet in January and select our new president, but I appreciate you guys tolerating me. I know I can be somewhat zealous at times for the last 3 years. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you for all you do for North Pole in general through the North Pole Chamber. I know you want to leave, but I'm going to keep talking. Are there any questions for Howard?
I'm not in a hurry.
Okay. Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it. Anyone else signed up who'd like to give public testimony or citizens' comments this evening on something that isn't related to the agenda?
Mike Prox. Actually, I live off of Badger Road and just here representing District 33 in the legislature. And I got your priority list emailed to me today. And I suppose here to answer questions about it, but it's looking like it's going to be another lean year for the legislature. We're probably going to see about a $500-600 million supplemental budget to cover the current year's budget. And the revenue, North Slope oil revenue is probably going to be down. We're expecting a little increase in oil production. The pickup project is coming online, but they're going to be getting some tax credits from that. And the price of oil has been lower than projected. So that's the bad news. And I don't know what State of North Pole does as far as grant requests, but there are some other avenues than just the legislature for looking around for money. The Municipal League has a program. I don't know if the city has a grant writer, but happy to talk to you about that and show you what little I know about it, point you in maybe the right direction for some of that stuff. And then just it's in the news off and on, the gas pipeline is looking better and better. We're probably going to have a final investment decision from Glenfarne probably sometime in January. They were saying December, now they're kind of indicating January. That's not a hard deadline. That's up to them whenever they feel comfortable with doing it. But they've been getting a lot of positive results, positive feedback from their solicitations for the gas from some of the Far Eastern countries. And I'm sure there's lots of details to still work out on that. Big deal for the Fairbanks North Star Borough is the spur line. And just to confirm where it is now, the spur line is a separate request, or a separate project, I should say, from the main gas pipeline. That's just when that was permitted, that was its own project. They did not put a spur line in the permit. So at this point, it is legally a separate line. We've got to keep that in mind. And we're doing what we can to make the best deal for Fairbanks, but everybody needs to keep in mind that if we don't have a mainline pipe, we don't have a spur line. Important. And then also thinking about what we can do as a community to get the most out of that construction. There's going to more than likely, if anyone was here in the 70s, you'd remember there were thousands of people that came up here looking for a job on the pipeline and couldn't get out. So they were in town for several months. They worked around town, et cetera, but there's going to be housing challenges and other challenges with that. And then there was always the complaint, we want to get more Alaskans working on the pipeline. Well, in order to do that, we're going to have to think about what we can do for mostly at least the regulatory training and then some other professional training. So we'll be looking at that. And then there'll be all kinds of bills in the legislature. The session starts on the 20th of January, and I am here between now and then and would appreciate a call if anyone has questions on the capital projects and et cetera. And any questions now if you have any, that's what I'm here for.
Talking about spare lines, you're talking about jumping off points from the gas line.
The spur line, yes. The main pipeline runs just the other side of Nenana, if you will. And then the plan is to put what they call a spur line from there to the connection to IGU's system somewhere by the university. It's about a 35 mile line.
Thank you. Any other questions? That's a good question, Mr. Williams. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Prax, for being here and updating the council on that.
Ready? Thank you.
Anyone else for citizens' comments? We'll consider that closed, and that moves us on to item number 5, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve this evening's agenda.
I'll second that. Any amendments to the agenda as stated? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes.
Anyone like to change their vote? Okay, thank you. That moves us on to item 6, approval of the minutes. A, B, and C, November 24th, 2025, December 1st, Committee of a Whole, and December 1st, 2025, regular City Council meeting. Are there any amendments to A, B, or C? Can we call a roll on the entire section 6, A, B, and C at once?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 24th, 2025, special meeting minutes, the December 1st, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, and December 1st, 2025 regular City Council meeting minutes.
Second.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Anyone like to change their vote? Okay. And that brings us on to. Thank you, Mayor's comments. And this evening, we are joined by a North Pole High School student, Mr. Henry Coyle. If you wouldn't mind stepping forward. Am I saying that correctly, Coyle? All right. Come on up here. I want to talk a little bit about what you do here. You're involved in the T3 Club, the Patriots Club. You're a TA for Miss Bex?
Mr. Balick.
Mr. Balick, all right. You're in AP Computer Science. You volunteered at Days and the Junior Bowl League at Arctic Bowl, and you are the Student of the Month for Science in October of 25. With that, we would like to award you with an award of excellence for being North Pole City Student of the Month. So thank you for that. Thank you for all your efforts. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Okay. So the remainder of communications from the mayor. We had a meeting with the Public Works Department, which initiated the light audit in our city, our street light audit, which hasn't been performed since 2017. I'd like to thank Tim for putting that together. Attended the Civ Mill meeting. It's a monthly meeting where the mayors and community leaders talk about the military community and things that are happening in the military community and how we can partner together to make things better. I met with the Fairbanks North Star Borough along with our deputy accountant and bed tax clerk to discuss how the Fairbanks North Star Borough enforces their bed tax and collects past due bed tax, which is something that we typically haven't done here in the city of North Pole. But the borough is getting very down to brass tacks about dialing that in. It really is our community's money paid for by tourism that goes to benefit a lot of our nonprofits in town and helps make our community better. And glad to see them taking that on. Last week, I attended the Alaska Municipal League Conference in Anchorage. It was the 75th anniversary of the conference with 3 other councilmen. Council members here went for newly elected official training. and our deputy accountant who attended the financial portion of the conference. It's a great resource to be able to network at AML, talk with other mayors, other local leaders, find out what they're doing, what they've done that works, what they've done, more importantly, that hasn't worked. It's interesting how big our state is and truly how different each section of our economy is, from the North Slope to Southeast to interior Alaska, and how that changes. Through the ACOM meeting, the Alaska Conference of Mayors, we had a board meeting. We elected Peter Machicki as ACOM president. He is the current Kenai Borough Mayor. And we elected Katie Grebe, who is the mayor of Anderson, as vice president for the year. What's super exciting to note is that the AML summer conference, or legislative summer conference, will be held here in Fairbanks this year, which is nice to see. It'll be good for our economy. It'll be the last week of August. The city of North Pole, while we were down there, donated 3 teddy bears, 3 pins, 2 coins, and a North Pole flag for the silent auction. It was a fundraiser for the Hong storm and for those people who are still having a tough time. I can't imagine being homeless throughout the winter, living in Anchorage, living in Fairbanks, living in a place that's very unfamiliar to you without your traditions and your way of life and having to adjust. I can't imagine what they're going through, at the same time worrying about what used to be their home and how that's coming along. Anything we can do to keep those folks in our prayers is pretty important. For me, I will be on vacation from the 1st of January to January 16th. And I'll be out of office, and I'll be periodically checking my emails as that comes in. Pro Tim Brandt will step up and be boots on the ground for those that are in need of immediate assistance. And his cell number, along with all of our other council members' cell numbers, are online on our website, northpolealaska.com. City of North Pole is still looking for an IGU representative, someone who would like to help with that committee and help move the interior gas utility forward. We are also looking and in need of a committee seat on the Walk, Ride, and Roll Committee for fast planning. It's Trails, Bicycle, Pedestrian Committee. And then we also are looking for a dedicated appointed position to the Economic Development Commission. That meets 4 times a year. IGU, our current member is Mike Miller. He's stepping down at the end of this year. That first IGU meeting will be January 6th of next year. So if there's someone who's interested, if they wouldn't mind stepping forward and making that happen, I'd love to have somebody from North Pole represent North Pole on that IGU board. It's pretty important. I'd like to give a shout out to the chamber, the North Pole Chamber, for the bazaar, for the fireworks, for the candle lighting ceremony yesterday at MPHS. It was great. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Rolfe, her mom, Tammy Wilson, and their daughter for coming out and presenting on stage. And thanks to Chris Capps. I don't know if you got a chance to see the article in today's paper, but North Pole Winterfest is front page news, and it should be. It's a big deal. It's a lot of community people who have put this together and dedication to make this happen. But what a great community event, and congratulations to the Armstrongs for being the new king and queen. And thank you to the Wymans for stepping up last year and making that happen. That's a big deal for our community. I'm almost done. I want to say, please, I know it's Christmas time, but it is a tough time for folks out there. If you wouldn't mind just checking on your neighbor. We used to do that growing up. We'd get together and just knock on their door, say hello, make sure they're doing okay. With our phones being what they are, we don't do that nearly as much. We don't connect. and that personal connection is gone. This time of year isn't always the easiest on some people. If you've lost a loved one in the last year, this time of year is especially hard. Please know that if you are needing to get out or want to get out of the house, you can go walk at the Big Dipper. It's a real nice spot to go. It's warm. You can do that 6 days a week from 10 to 4. You don't have to talk to anybody, but it gives you a chance to get out of your house, get away from your thoughts, and do something positive. And who knows, you might run into somebody that should be a friend. We live in a town where the spirit of Christmas lives year round. It doesn't always have to be exuberant or full of glee, but it does need to leave with love. Love for your neighbor, love for your community, and love for yourself. I want to wish everybody in North Pole a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And cheers to 2026. With that, I'll take any questions of the mayor. Councilman Brandt.
Do you plan on complying with Mr. Rawls' public records request?
I certainly can answer that. I have complied with the public records request. That is in the area of the clerk's duty to take care of that public records request. So how that is handled is done through the clerk's office, not through the mayor's office. And I appreciate you dropping off a drive, Mr. Rolfe. I really do. I didn't see that, but it went into the clerk's office where it, I assume, is still there. I appreciate the letter that you sent to the council, not to me, but to the council. And as soon as the attorney is done deciphering that email along with the public records request, whatever their advice is, I certainly will comply. So thank you for the question. Any other questions? A follow-up? Yes, sir.
Looking through the lawyer's bills, I mean, we've already paid him like $1,000 for you trying to get out of complying with this. Back on 11/3, it says that he sent you a memo. He drafted and transmitted a memo to you regarding the public records request. That was a month and a half ago. You are not complying with this. The ChatGPT is yours. It's not the clerk's. The clerk has told you that she has this drive. All you have to do is download everything and to give it to her to do the.
Okay, is there a
redactions.
question there, Councilman
I'm
Brandt?
asking you,
Okay.
will you please take the drive, download everything, and give it to the clerk to avoid this lawsuit that will cost the city thousands of dollars?
Okay, thank you. So noted.
I would like an answer to that.
I will
question,
give you
please.
an answer. Okay. What you just said there about the attorney's bill, I'm not trying to get out of anything, sir. Nor am I trying to hide anything, Mr. Rolfe. I wish there was a way to take your public records request or every public records request and truly make it public so that people can see the expanse of the request that comes from the city. I will comply and turn that in just as soon as I possibly can. So thank you for that.
I'm asking you again, if you would download the information and give it to the clerk and have her hold on to it and do the redactions to avoid this lawsuit that Mr. Rolfe has said you are well beyond the statutory limits. And
Actually, Councilman Brandt, I'm not well beyond the statutory limits. With the request that was made, due to the expansive request that was made. I am certainly well within the limits of being able to supply that. Had the request been edited to a month or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but it's more than a year's worth of information. That isn't something that you can just sling off a printer and shove in a drive. So with that, it's with our attorney, and I'd prefer not to speak any more about this, since the city has been threatened with a lawsuit.
I would not say threatened.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, that brings us on to action item 9, communications. Thank you, Chief. Communications from department heads. Madam Clerk, let's start with you.
I don't have much of a report today. I did want to say that I did attend 4 days of the AAMC conference in AML last week, and it was very informative. It was 4 full days of lots of information, and I do want to thank the council for allowing me to attend and get that education. And that's all I have.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you a question? So while you were there, down there, I understand that during your off time that you were presented with questions by council people who were down there, and I just want to apologize for that. As employees, just because we work at the city of North Pole doesn't mean we're at the city of North Pole in our official capacity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I just want to publicly apologize to you for that. It wasn't me, but it was members of our council who came to you, and that wasn't okay.
Thank you, but no apology needed.
Okay. That takes us on to Chief Heineken. Sorry, I had to find the mic.
I guess I have the mic. Hey, good evening, Mayor, council members. It's that time of year. Everybody after Christmas last year has been waiting 355 days for the caroling truck to start. And tonight we're there. So tonight it should be out and about right now unless they ran into technical difficulties. And it will be running every night between now and Christmas, between 6 and approximately 9 p.m. This year we have looked at the route, and every other day we're going to reverse the route. So be prepared for that. Every other day it should come in through about the same time. So depending on where you live in the route, it might be earlier the one night, might be later the one night. If you're smack dab in the middle, it's probably going to be about the same time. Yeah, the crew really did a phenomenal job this year getting the apparatus decorated and getting it ready. They're out there in this brutal cold. Hopefully the speakers still work at 35 below. So we're excited for that. I did receive the 3 quotes from used firing equipment, the dealer that we purchase fire apparatus from. And I plan on the first agenda in January to have a request to purchase on your agenda. As we spoke before, the 3 different quotes that we were receiving was dependent on how much down we had placed. As we know, it's a 4-year build time. My recommendation, I'll tell you right up front, is going to be to do the lower down, the 250 down, and then 250 a year. Looking at what it was about a $50,000 savings from paying 100% up front or paying 250,000 down and 250,000 a year while it's being built. And after doing the quick math, where we have the fire department fleet funds sitting, drawing interest, will far exceed that $50,000 savings. So that will be my recommendation to you next month, that we use that quote and go ahead and make that purchase. So I just wanted to get that on all of your radars. If you have any questions, I can absolutely talk over with any of you, and then we can make it official next month. And the only other thing I have is just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and stay warm and safe. I can take any questions.
Chief, is there anything specific that homeowners should take care of this time of year or know about? I always worry when it gets this cold. I certainly want to see those people using their wood stoves, but it creates such a problem this time of year.
Yeah. I mean, it's more about the cold than this time of year. I mean, Christmas time, the old adage of fires with Christmas trees and stuff, we don't see that as much of a problem. It's still a risk. But the colder it gets in our community, the more tragedy we see when it comes to fires. There's no doubt the fire departments in the entire region see a drastic increase of structure fires the colder it gets. Every degree past 30 below is just more risk. People are, their homes are working in overdrive trying to stay warm. They're trying to do what they can to keep vehicles running and thawed, keep plumbing thawed. So, yeah, anything you can do to ease that burden on your mechanical devices is helpful. And then, yeah, of course, in this cold, a lot of people are using wood stoves. So maintenance is the key issue. And unfortunately, right now, it's not time to maintain your apparatus, your equipment because of the cold. We should be doing that during lighter weather. So if you haven't done it in this last year, make it on your radar as soon as the weather warms up and get your heating devices professionally serviced and safe so you can be safe and our responders can be safe.
Thank you, Chief. Director Glidden, how are you, sir?
I am fantastic. So our last council meeting, we talked about the PFAS investigation at the fire department, and there was a lot of questions that I didn't really have good answers for. So I brought some experts to talk about PFAS and our project.
PowerPoint that we put together here. Well, while she's pulling that up, I'll go ahead and introduce us. So my name is Kristen Freiberger. This is Justin Risley. We're both PFAS experts at Shannon and Wilson. And Tim had asked us to come and talk to you. We did glance over the questions you had asked in some of the previous council meetings. So hopefully we'll be ready with answers for those questions. And while she's pulling that up, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. So my name, again, is Kristen. I am an environmental chemist. I've been with Shannon and Wilson about 19 years. If you live within the Sulphur area, you probably recognize me as the person who knocked on your door about 15 years ago and talked to you about that. That project naturally led me into the PFAS, and I've been working on it for about 8 years now, as the airports in our state also have private wells that have been impacted by the contamination in the groundwater. So that's sort of how I got into this and have become the PFAS expert for our entire company. All right. There is a PDF option, maybe that would be better. I put both on there just in case. So our talk is going to be hopefully pretty short and sweet, so we don't take too much of your guys' time, but I will say that each time I've given this talk, it goes about an hour long. We are going to try to cut that down very short. A lot of that's dependent on questions. So we'll try to give you the information and then leave a lot of time for you guys to be able to ask us some questions. But we are going to spend some time talking about what is PFAS, where are the various sources of contamination at, and go through the history of the regulations as that is ever evolving. And then how can you address PFAS contamination? And then ultimately, Justin, who is the project manager for the City of North Pole site, is going to talk about your site specifically. So, all right, sounds good. If you want to go ahead to the next one. So what are PFAS. It's unfortunate that I don't have the PDF, the PowerPoint for that. That stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. It is a group of over 10,000 compounds, but oftentimes you'll hear people say PFAS or PFOA. Those are two specific compounds that you see down there on the bottom left. The reason that people focus on those two compounds is because they've been the most widely used since the mid-1900s. And because of that, they have the most toxicological research that's been completed for them and a greater understanding of them. So typically in the regulations and in discussions about PFAS, you will hear people talk specifically about those two particular compounds. And with respect to the fire departments, those are the major component of what's called aqueous film forming foams. So the firefighting foams that you have to use on petroleum fires. And so those do tend to be a focus at fire departments specifically. The data on the health data that's been collected on these compounds does show that they are quite toxic at parts per trillion levels. So that's 1 drop in 20 Olympic-sized pools. So very, very small amounts have been shown to cause health effects. And the health effects that have been seen are various cancers, thyroid problems, cholesterol issues, and autoimmune issues. So that, and because of their widespread use, as you can see on there, 99% of Americans actually have PFAS in their bloodstream. And so that's why you're hearing more about it and it's becoming a focus for people. Go ahead and scroll. Oftentimes we do hear about the firefighting foams, and in our borough, that is one of the bigger sources of widespread contamination. It creates these big plumes. But I did want to include this slide so that you can see that it is actually in many everyday products, such as microwave popcorn. So that's always my PSA when I give this talk. Pop your own popcorn. Don't do the microwave popcorn. The coating in the inside is actually PFAS. But because of its use as stain guards and some other everyday products, you will also find contamination at landfills and wastewater treatment plants, as you guys have probably seen at your own here. Go ahead. One of the biggest factors when you're talking about PFAS that has resulted in widespread contamination across the world is that they are extremely stable and they have almost no degradation or sequestering properties. So once they're in the environment, until there is human intervention, they will stay in the environment. And this slide here shows the various pathways in which PFAS moves through the environment. There are many. I will say that one advantage we have in Alaska is that we don't have manufacturers near us. So we do not at least have the air deposition issue happening, but we do have fast moving groundwater. So that ends up creating some big plumes whenever PFAS gets onto the ground surface. And if you could actually go to the next slide. I added this in because this specific slide shows more of like what we're going to find at, say, at the North Pole Fire Department here, where training has been completed on the ground surface. Nobody told firefighters not to do that. The manufacturers didn't tell people don't put it on the ground. So naturally, people used firefighting foams during training. They sprayed it on the ground. It doesn't stick to soil the way that other contaminants do, such as oils. And so what you find is that when a rain vent comes through, it actually infiltrates, it picks up the PFAS from the soil and it pulls it down to the groundwater pretty easily. And also shown on this slide is that runoff, such as just during a rain event or maybe during the training itself, if it goes to a ditch, if it goes to a surface water body, a gravel pit, something like that, that can also transport PFAS pretty big distances. In Minnesota, they have like 150 square miles of contamination because of all the lakes and the connection that they all have to one another.
Question.
Sure.
What's its lifespan?
So they are termed the forever chemicals for a reason. Yeah, they really don't have any degradation properties that will remove them, which is a little different than a lot of contaminants, which do have sort of a half-life or even like oil, for example, bacteria in the soil will start to eat away at that, but that does not happen with PFAS, which is why in the news you will often, or in movies, you'll hear them deemed forever chemicals. So that is one of the big reasons why we find PFAS all throughout the world. Once it enters the environment, it moves throughout the environment until it is stopped. So there is not one. Sorry. I know it's very unfortunate, and it's my job to go tell people about it. So, please. Wanted to put together a history of the regulations. I will say it's not a complete history. There has been a lot of changes made over the last 10 years with respect to regulations. This slide specifically focuses on what the EPA has done to start regulating PFAS compounds. They specifically regulate PFAS and PFOA. In 2016, they set out a health advisory that is not a regulatory enforceable value. That is just a health-based value that assumes that if you drank water that contained this amount of PFAS and PFOA, for this one it's 70 parts per trillion, and you drank that over the course of your lifetime, you would expect to see health effects if you are at that amount or higher. In 2022, they actually, with new health information, revised that limit down to 0.004 for PFOA and 0.02 for PFAS. That's actually 100 times lower than the commercial labs can even detect. So what that tells you is that detectable amounts of PFAS could cause health issues if it's in your drinking water and you're consuming it over the course of your lifetime. In 2024, the EPA announced that they have maximum contaminant levels. These are regulatory enforceable levels. They are specific to public drinking water systems. So like the one you guys have in North Pole, although I know you do not have PFAS, the wells are very close to the Tanana, and you guys are one of the few in the country that do not have a PFAS problem. But what those limits were set at is 4 parts per trillion for both PFAS and PFOA. MCLs are a little different than health advisory in that they also take into account the available technologies for treatment, the economic impacts to treating down to a lower level, and then what the labs can even detect, which is set at about 2 parts per trillion. So that's why they picked 4, although they do have a goal of 0. In drinking water systems. We're still within the grace period right now of before the MCLs have to be fully enforceable. That's set at 2031, I believe. It's been changing. The EPA has been making some changes recently. And they used to have one for PFNA, HXS, GenX, and PFBS, but in 2015, they actually removed those from the MCLs. 2025, what did I say?
2015.
Oh, okay, yeah, 10 years after that, 2025. Next one, please. So as far as our local DEC and the PFAS regulations, they started promulgating cleanup levels in 2016. At that time, they set the groundwater cleanup levels to 400 for PFAS and PFOA individually, but they set a drinking water action level of 70 parts per trillion. What that action level means is if you are a responsible party and you have contributed to a private drinking water being impacted at this concentration or higher, then you are responsible for providing them with an alternative drinking water source. In 2018, they added in 3 additional compounds that are listed here on the screen, and that was compared to 70 parts per trillion as well. So you add them all together, and if it's over 70, then alternative water would need to be provided to that home or business. And they kept the groundwater levels at 400. In 2019, they reverted back to the original just PFAS and PFOA of 70 parts per trillion. Slide, please. This next slide here, it has the current DEC PFAS regulations. So the soil cleanup levels and the groundwater cleanup levels. We are in what is called the under 40-inch zone. So for soil, it's 1.7 parts per billion for PFOA and 3 parts per billion for PFAS. And the groundwater cleanup levels, like we said on the previous slide, are 400. What I will say is that the DEC is actively and has been actively working on updating these regulations. They will likely be much lower, and they will likely include additional compounds. They've attempted to do that several times, and various logistics get in the way. You can't put out new regulations if the commissioner unfortunately leaves in the middle of it. So I think they're back at square one, and we don't know when they're going to update those specifically when it will come out, but we are anticipating that these values will be the higher limits and that we will likely have lower limits that come up for the new regulations when they come out. Sure.
With the lower levels, you were saying that they don't even appear on the testing levels, and it's below the capability of most of the testing equipment anyway. So no matter what they come up with, it's likely to be lower. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I don't know what the DEC is specifically going to set it at. The health advisory levels are lower than what's detectable, but the enforceable values are just slightly above what's detectable currently. So we'll see what they end up coming up with. It is likely that for like PFOA, for example, that it will be any detectable amount is considered above the cleanup level. But who knows? We'll see when it comes out. We'll all be in the know at the same time. On this slide, I did want to list out several different options that we have for cleaning up PFAS in this specific area. So there are more options available, but I honed in on what would make sense for the North Pole area. So for water, which could be groundwater or surface water, you can actually rail car it to the lower 48. Not the greatest option, but it's the one we've had available to us. There is a facility in Anchorage that was able to take PFAS contaminated water at one point. However, they are currently not operating. Other options that you have for water or surface water is just a standard pump and treat type method, similar to what you would do for other contaminants. The difference here is that you can use some different media in order to treat it, which will last a little bit longer than, say, your standard GAC that people tend to use. And those are all fairly recent technologies. I like to say that the best thing that happened in the pandemic is that scientists got to work and figured out a lot of options for how we can treat PFAS. So that was a wonderful part of that. Another option for treating groundwater is in situ carbon injection. You can actually inject carbon directly into the aquifer and park it in place and essentially set up a Brita filter in the subsurface. So as the contaminated groundwater moves through, it will remove the PFAS similar to what a Brita filter would do if you were drinking out of it at home. And then downgrading of that, you are protecting the environment there. For different soil technologies, the best available option for this area is incineration. So one of the benefits of incineration is that it is a destruction technology. So it will actually take those PFAS and break them completely apart. There are only a handful of these incineration units in the United States, and we have one of them right here in North Pole at the Moose Creek facility. We were the first one, maybe second one, in all of the country. So pretty nice solution that we have there. It's different than our other work across Alaska where we're having to ship out to other places. There are options where you can bring in mobile units to do a thermal remediation, or maybe a smoldering technology, or even a soil washing. But with the size of the site that we have here in North Pole, it's not likely to be cost feasible over just sending it down the street. There is also options to place carbon in the soil so that you can sequester the PFAS in place instead of sending it off and having it burned. And these are all things that we can investigate for you all at Tim's request, and look into the different funding that would be required for those sorts of things. And then sure.
Sorry. I remember reading stuff about the efforts to do carbon capture, to take carbon out of the atmosphere. So I'm wondering why those people haven't gotten together to work out some of the PFAS stuff.
capture the carbon and then use it to capture PFAS. It sounds like a great idea to
thought-
me. We should, yeah. I do like to throw in a reminder that landfills will no longer take your PFAS soils. They used to years ago, but especially with PFAS being regulated under CERCLA now and the potential for it to be regulated under RCRA, which would make it a hazardous waste. You know, people are very touchy and they do not want to take those PFAS soils. In addition to that, if we were completing a construction project and we found soils, even if they're below those cleanup levels, DEC has implemented that even if there's a detectable limit, even if it's below the cleanup levels, you cannot send that to someone else without them having full knowledge that you're giving them contaminated soil. So just something to be aware of.
If I may, so these gravel pits around North Pole that are within the sulf lane and PFAS contaminants inside the zone who sell gravel, that PFAS then travels to a new site. How are you able to detect that? And then what happens during the dewatering of that gravel pit soil that gets trucked in for, let's say, new construction? Now we have a transfer of a site that has carried on to a new site. How are you able to track that and know where those sites happen?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I will say that at least one of your gravel pits has contacted us to have us collect samples for them to make sure that there isn't contaminants in there specifically for the sulfolane so that they can test and make sure that they aren't sending contaminated soils off-site. The one fortunate characteristic of PFAS is it doesn't really like to stick to gravel. It may stick to organic rich soils, but for sands and gravels, it really doesn't like to stick to those, which is great for people to be able to keep selling their gravels. It depends on the type of project, but some projects, depending on where the funding comes from, if it comes from federal funding, have requirements to have certain, not just PFAS, but other types of contaminants sampled and make sure that they are non-detect or at least within an acceptable limit. But it's certainly part of, why we like to make people aware of it. I can't promise you that no one's sending soils out that aren't contaminated because, we're not involved with everyone. But the awareness and making people aware that these issues exist, I think will help with that in the future, certainly. Right. So I'll pass it over to Justin so we can talk about your specifics.
Yeah, so I'm the Shannon Wilson project manager for the fire department site, and just kind of wanted to go over some of the how all of this PFAS stuff actually applies to this site. So as Kristen mentioned, a lot of the source of it is these firefighting foams that were used, and so one of the challenges we have is that these foams have been used for a long time, and well before even PFAS was a thing, people were training with them and requirements were made. And so this is also a fairly new discovery. And so it wasn't until 2018 when there was some sampling being done for the refinery because they know that they have some PFAS coming off site. And so they did some sampling to try and see where it's going, all that. And then they found on 2 monitoring wells, just about a little less than 300 feet north of the fire department, came back with really, really high concentrations of PFAS. And so they weren't expecting results like that because as you get further away from the source, it should be less and less concentrated. And so with these high concentrations, it kind of indicates that there's another source. And so given that they were so close to a fire department, likely having firefighting foams, DEC then requested that more research be done, people to look into it. And so in 2020, Shannon Wilson was brought on by you all, the city of North Pole, to look into this. And so over the next couple of years, we ended up doing a lot of groundwater sampling and soil sampling on the site and in groundwater and monitoring wells around North Pole. We kind of did this in the hopes to find the source, because if you can find where it is, then in theory you can then solve it there and mitigate the problem from becoming worse further downstream. And we were looking into some of the what they call like PFAS forensics and getting this what's called like a fingerprint or a signature for PFAS. And so we were trying to get some data on that to see what is the North Pole Fire Department PFAS signature. And so I'm going to give it back to Kristen real quick to talk over that.
So this next slide shows these signatures that Justin was just referring to. When you're looking at AFFF sources, there are many different types of PFAS that are in there. And so you can generate what's called these radar plots, which will show you the relative concentrations to one another. So like in these top two examples, you can see that the PFNA is actually much greater than say the PFOS or the HXS or the PFOA. And so we had sampled several different wells and we had completed this analysis. This is a visual analysis strictly, which has been developed more and more over the recent years across the industry. And now people are also starting to apply what's called a PCA statistical analysis to this as well, for the sake of it holding up in court and helping to determine sources. But we didn't want to just say signature and not really show what that means. So like for these 4 wells, you can tell that the source of contamination is similar in the top 2, just based on the shape of the radar plot, which is different than those bottom 2. And we do know that out in this area that there could be multiple sources, obviously, of the refinery. The difficult part about that is that the refinery likely used very similar foams to the city of North Pole over the years, because you guys would have had that foam in order to respond to the refinery. So it could be that those signatures could be pretty tight and similar to one another. And the other thing that we do run into when it comes to this forensics method is that in order to really hone in on different sources, you would have to have a high concentration of wells and a large data set that you're looking at in order to really be able to use it. But just for the sake of getting started, we wanted to produce these in that first data set that we completed for the city of North Pole.
If I may, since so many of these results are MRL, how are you able to attach the signature to barely readable information to be able to find this out?
Meaning like the detection limit, the reporting limit?
Yeah.
I appreciate that you understand
You
that
bet.
terminology. So no matter which way we go, we're consistent on it. I believe in this case, we set in what we would call non-detects at the actual reporting limit. These other concentrations are above that reporting limit. Yeah. And we do throw, like if there's a data set that has mostly non-detects, we throw that out because it doesn't contribute to being able to produce these and be effective on providing information. But there's some level of steps that you go through before you throw out a data set, obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah, so after, as mentioned, in 2022, or in 2020 and 2022, we ended up doing a lot of soil sampling and groundwater sampling. And what we found and kind of shed some light on were some of the challenges that are kind of specific to the fire department here. Is that, as Kristen mentioned, it's likely that different foams were used, because I mean you saw the different signatures and things like that. And so even just on the site, we have that on the northern part of the site, a lot of the soil concentrations had high proportions of PFOS in the north, and then PFOA had higher proportional concentrations in the south. And that data suggests that different foams were used, because different foams will have a higher concentration or a higher proportion of these different ones. So it's likely that different foams were used, or even just stored and leaked or something, who knows what, at these sites. It also doesn't help that there's little to no record on the site. Like, we don't know where exactly the foams were used for training over the last however many decades it's been used, or was used. We don't know how much was used. So it's like, how many barrels or buckets or whatnot did they have? We don't know. We don't know what type of foam was used. And I mean, there's just a lot of kind of these unknowns, and we're trying to do our best to figure them out and not break the bank.
And that's normal for most.
Yeah.
No one wrote it down over the last
Right.
50 years.
I mean, we'll go to airports and be like, we think we trained over here. So, yeah. in the groundwater results as well, as you, I mean, we kind of saw in some of the plots that you get these different signatures. And so that also indicates or suggests at the least that there might be other sources aside from just the refinery and the fire department. And so, I mean, if you're thinking about it like fingerprints, that's like having a lot of people touch the same thing, and now you're trying to figure out whose is what. And so it just muddles a lot of the data and makes it more difficult to come to good conclusions. And so, and also, as Kristen mentioned, it's likely the refinery supplied a lot of the foam. And so you could be working with the exact same foam or very similar foam, and they're just at different locations in the groundwater and flowing and muddling together. And it just, it gets complicated to try and decipher whose is whose, where one begins and where one ends or flows through. And so that's part of what, I mean, DEC has kind of asked us to do, is to get more data to try and determine more of that. But given all of the unique challenges to North Pole, whether it's the groundwater flow or just the different foams, the fingerprinting itself, in and of itself, as a forensic use, might not be terribly useful, and that we might have to, look at other avenues if that's where we're going as far as like whose PFAS is whose. But going forward, after the 2022 sampling that we did, Shannon Wilson, recommended for just monitoring for the monitoring wells. If we go to the next slide, sorry. Those are the 4 monitoring wells. There's 2 on site, and then the 2 right above site, those are actually the original ones that were sampled that led us to finding this site. After that, we recommended those 4 monitoring wells, and then DEC in 2023 requested that 15 more monitoring wells be sampled, along with some private wells, so people's households, just to get more data across North Pole to try and figure out, what's going on. Some of those samples that were requested from DEC have already been sampled in recent years by one of our other clients. Thankfully, we're able to ask DEC, and we checked with DEC that we can ask them for the data, and DEC will give us the data, and we're able to use that for this project. And so, like, I do want to note that we are the hands and feet for the client getting that data, but we don't have access to that data or the reporting for that. And so we do have to go through DEC to get that, even though we are the ones collecting the sample.
Another consultant processes the information.
Yes. However, we do know and are able to use the fact that we did sample it, in the last 2 to 3 years. And so then we've been able to ask DEC, can we just use this instead of resampling it? And they have allowed us to do that. And so we were able to bring in 2020, now coming up to 2026, only 8 monitoring wells are being requested by DEC to sample because of that, and then the same 9 private wells. Going forward, even past 2026, we would probably recommend, I would assume we would recommend continued monitoring for the 4 monitoring wells, but as DEC also recommended, to try and prioritize soil removal or cleanup on the site. Because then again, it's like you're able to address the problem and not just keep tabs on it going forward. And that kind of brings us up to the present of what we're trying to do, get more data to figure out what's going on, and hopefully be able to move forward to solve problems.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if you,
Please, Councilman Williams.
Will we know what chemical would eat the PFAS up, make it disappear completely? Just think about it.
Yeah.
What
If there was one, that would be $1 billion chemical. But there isn't one that you can just like inject into the ground. I will say there is a company called Intrinsics. They're working on an enzyme that will help plants to possibly be able to destroy PFAS. So far, all it's been able to do is pull PFAS into the plant, and then when the leaves shed, it just goes back onto the ground. So the cycle still continues, but hopefully they'll be able to find the right enzymes that actually help to destroy the PFAS, right? The only thing so far that's been able to break PFAS is high temperatures, which is where the incineration comes in play. And there's several different technologies that reach temperatures with different types of technologies, but that is the only thing so far that's been able to degrade PFAS is high temperature, which typically means high dollar. treatment options, unfortunately.
But you see where I was going with that.
Yeah, one of the main other challenges with PFAS is that it's the carbon fluorine bond, and it's one of the strongest bonds that can exist and be stable. And so it doesn't break down very easily or naturally. And so that's why, well, unless you consider volcanoes natural, but unless you get to very high temperatures, then the bonds will end up breaking. But it's challenging to find just another chemical that wouldn't also be horrible that could go in and break this up.
The other thing, when you are breaking PFAS, you have to be very concerned with what breaking in. It can break into hydrofluoric acid, which has its own issues, or it can turn into various gases that you would need to capture during the process. So unfortunately, there isn't a magic at this point that you can inject in order to break it. At this point, it's finding methods to sequester it, such as injecting carbon in the ground and sequestering it in place, or mixing carbons with the soil to sequester it in place, or removing it and having it either disposed of at a landfill that will accept that type of material, or in one of these incineration units. Hopefully in time. It is an emerging contaminant. From there, yeah, we're just open to questions. So anything, we hope that we've addressed a lot of what you were wanting to hear, but we're happy to take any questions you have.
Any questions, council? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
If any questions do come up, Tim's got my contact information and all that, so just feel free to give us a holler.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind dragging that mic back over to Tim, I think he can finish his report there. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Justin and Kristen. Thank you.
All right, so that's probably good for me. If you guys have any questions.
Good evening. I don't have a lot. We did update the budget book. It is on our website, and I also have paper back here to replace the pages that were changed at the final budget reading at the last meeting. I looked for your books, but apparently everybody took them home. So if you want to bring the book, I certainly replaced the pages for you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Chief?
Just real quick, I had a good successful time at the FBI in a executive conference last week in Anchorage, interfacing with other chiefs and lieutenants from around the state. That was good training. Thanks for sending me there. We are continuing to work forward with our current applicant. Hopefully have an answer for you in the next couple of weeks there. We had a great time, as has already been mentioned, with Shop with a Cop. We try to do that every single year. This year was great because we were actually able to get together at the end of all of it and wrap presents with all the other agencies together instead of doing the COVID thing where we all split up and went to our different departments. So that was a good time. And the officers are currently transitioning to new weapons platforms with their pistols. So that'll be taking place over the next couple months if we can get into a range. That's all I have. If I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Chief. Looks like you're off the hook. Okay. That brings us on to item 10, ongoing reports. And for that, we have the North Pole Economic Development Committee.
Okay. So good evening. So I'm Howard Rixey, current chair of the City of North Pole's Economic Development Committee. And so what I'd like to do is kind of give a report of our 2025 activities and what have you. You should have two things that we asked the clerk to provide you. One is a copy of a report that we'll be speaking to here, and then also a draft resolution that we'll be speaking to later on. And if you don't mind, I just have a prepared statement I'd like to read, which will cover all of this here. So So with that, I'm honored to present our 2025 annual report and summarize the work of our committee and formally introduce the North Pole Economic Development Analysis and Supporting Plan, the product of nearly a year's effort, more than 200 volunteer hours, and a combined knowledge of business leaders, nonprofit representatives, economic experts, and community members across the greater North Pole area. Tonight, on behalf of the North Pole Economic Development Committee, I come with a single request, and that the City Council fully adopt and enact this plan as the city's guiding economic development framework moving into 2026, and reauthorize this committee so that the work does not stop here. So a couple of things. One, how the year began. So as the start of 2025, the city reorganized the Economic Development Committee and charged us with a clear mission: promote sustainable economic growth, attract investment, retain and support businesses, cultivate a strong labor force through strategic planning and community-wide collaboration. So from January through December, the committee met regularly, reviewed dozens of government and regional reports, gathered local data, synthesized community feedback to build an accurate, grounded picture of economic conditions across what we know now identify as the greater North Pole community. Roughly 27,380 residents, more than 2,160 licensed businesses, and 10,500 housing units stretching from Fort Wainwright to Two Rivers, Moose Creek, Eielson, and Salcha, and obviously North Pole. The strength of our committee lies within its diverse and well-balanced composition. We bring together representatives from the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce, Explore Fairbanks, FEDCO, 2 city council members, 2 small business representatives, 1 nonprofit leader, an entrepreneur, and an expert in economics. The blend of this experience formed broad community insight and informed economic guidance. Together, we believe we have found consensus in our current state of affairs and how best to shape the future of our great community. In terms of accomplishments in 2025, we had a number of initiatives. So with nearly 40 potential initiatives laid upon our committee from 2024, the newly structured committee wanted to target initiatives that could be achieved by December 2025. This approach would be a proof of concept as to the viability of the committee. Our committee advanced several community initiatives, and through our community partners, the following were achieved. 1, the vertical harvest enterprise. So the city of North Pole, through a resolution, embraced an opportunity of inviting vertical harvest farms to explore the feasibility of creating a North Pole facility with the potential capability of producing 2.5 million pounds of fresh fruit, fresh greens and produce year-round. Number 2 was Santa's Friday night market, the farmers market. So the North Pole Community Chamber successfully hosted a Friday night market all summer and through the fall, reaching just about 1,200 patrons, and introduced what we call the Kids Biz Youth Entrepreneur Booth. Number 3 was invite the HGTV to make the North Pole their choice for the 2026 hometown makeover. And at the behest of the committee, the chamber submitted a letter to the producers making that request, and we're still waiting a response on that. Number 4 was to replace the welcome to North Pole signs with some more welcoming versions. So the city is now postured for a springtime install of new welcome signs in 8 locations. While in the final design stage, the intended design will honor the original founding families and serve as photo-worthy landmarks. Number 5 was the Business Town Survey. So with 2,160 licensed businesses identified across the North Pole community, the Chamber executed the first broad survey to gather business needs and priorities. Our results were compared with FEDCO's survey and directly supported the conclusions in our economic development analysis. Number 6 was All Things North Pole Weekly Bulletin. So the Welcome Center launched a weekly community-wide bulletin enabling event organizers to reach more than 600 subscribers and align events across the region. Number 7 was the city was originally labeled City Dog Park Beautification. So working through the Aurora Borealis Lions Eyeglass Recycling Center, which organizes the annual North Pole Championships, a large panoramic mural to celebrate the sprint dog sled racing and the 2026 50th anniversary of our community's North Pole Championship was proposed as a beautification project. Though the city did not approve the mural project at the dog park, Mount McKinley Bank has green-lighted the project as having a 40-foot mural installed on their property across from the North Pole branch. Number 8, home-based businesses. So a storefront incubator, what we're calling Santa's Village. So one of our most promising initiatives is a conceptual business incubator with initial test of 5 to 6 small heated cabins with boardwalk utilities and shared amenities. The incubator is designed to help home-based businesses test their storefront viability and support calls for a community of a walking mile. So Mike Garza now serves as a champion for this project, and then initial investors exploration is underway, and there's hopes of possibly even having it unveiled in 2026. And again, these efforts could not have been possible without the collaboration of those on our committee and their supporting organizations and others in the community. So our core deliverable was the North Pole Economic Development Analysis and Plan. So tonight, we submit this analysis and plans for your review and consideration. This report is the most comprehensive study of the greater North Pole economy ever assembled locally. It documents, 1, primary economic drivers to include military presence, oil and gas, construction and trades, tourism, youth population, entrepreneurship, mining, and family-centric infrastructure. It also identifies short-term and long-term strategic opportunities addressing housing, business diversification, utilities, expansion, tourism, transportation, and regional planning. Along with social economic challenges, it recognizes housing shortages, aging stock, high energy costs, the PM 2.5 air quality, the sulfate contamination we just spoke of, lack of recreation facilities, workforce gaps, transient population impacts, and limited commercial space. It includes action plans and key performance indicators. The plan lays out measurable annual targets for housing, business growth, utilities, youth and workforce development, tourism, civic engagement, and branding. It also includes a marketing and branding plan to include a regional identity strategy centered around where the spirit of Christmas meets the last frontier. So this report is not theoretical. It is rooted in data, public documents, local surveys, stakeholder inputs, and over years of committee's discussion and refinement. It gives the city and the greater community at large a coherent, measurable roadmap for the next decade, something the community has lacked for far too long. So why the adoption matters? One of the strongest lessons of this year has been the recognition of the North Pole's momentum is real, but it's not guaranteed. We are one of the fastest growing regions in Alaska, largely because of the 8,300 new military connected residents, significant construction and trade sector expansion, rapid residential growth, and increasing tourism and entrepreneurial activity. At the same time, we face issues that cannot be solved piecemeal. Utilities, housing, zoning, business space, youth amenities, transportation, the health environments, all are impacted. So if the city council does not adopt a unified development plan, decision risks become more reactionary, inconsistent, or personality driven instead of strategic, coordinated, and based on community consensus. This plan is your opportunity to anchor decision making in data, metrics, long-term goals, transparent priorities, cross-agency collaboration, and measurable outcomes. Adopting it and directing its integration into policy, budgeting, and capital planning tells our businesses, families, nonprofits, and military partners North Pole has a vision, and we intend to govern towards it. With that, our plea is, as the committee term expires December 31st, 2025, we make this heartfelt request. 1, through the draft city resolution submitted to you tonight, we hope it will find sponsorship within the city council. An eventual endorsement will not only adopt, but enact the environmental development analysis and plan as the city's official guiding document. Also, enactment will include directing city staff to incorporate its metrics and actions into ongoing planning and future budgets. And lastly, we encourage you to reauthorize the Economic Development Committee for 2026 calendar. The willingness of the community members to serve on that 2026 will depend heavily on how the city council responds to the work that has already been completed. These volunteers gave over 200 hours this year did so because they believe in the community, its future, its families, its military community, and the small town identity. So we sincerely hope this work is not discarded, delayed, or dismissed. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Any questions for the Economic Development Committee? Howard, I'd like to say thank you to you and the committee for making this happen and bringing this to the city of North Pole. I know that there was a lot of hard work and diligence put in, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, I would like to suspend the rules for 5 minutes for a bathroom break, and then we'll move on to business, if that's okay. Anyone opposed? By unanimous consent, a 5-minute break. Thank you.
I'd swiped a question the whole damn time. I'd swiped.
Yeah. Download them.
Trying to blame Emily.
Please give. The correct.
I hope the rest of them can see that. Speed up.
Where's this?
The power steering, because of the power steering, power steering pump. I got the one that doesn't have the, where you have the hoses and the stuff. Electronic power steering.
Oh.
I got that one. I'm looking for probably $3,000.
3,000?
Yeah, because they gotta go up underneath the car and do all that shit. I had to take it in so they can turn around and see what the problem. Hopefully it should. Never give it up. Oh, yeah.
He did.
Then William Fox.
And he said,
I can see you.
Something from you.
I'm probably gonna bring it, but it'll take me an hour to find out where to be.
I know that kind of thing.
You guys will have this all in
Front of your book and call it a win. Are you gonna look at it again, Howard? I do too. I do too. Sure. Yeah. I met you the other night at the bed tax committee. So thank you for the presentation. Yes. Very excited to make that happen. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very excited. Hank, how are you? See you, sir.
I didn't. Adam's got my coat and I took my rings off because my fingers are so cold. They keep slipping and I'm like, I'm gonna drop them. Yeah. So I just want to put them in my coat so I don't lose them.
I had no idea that was even happening. Had I known that, we would have done that in committee of the whole. Feel like we wasted 25 minutes, but I had no idea that was even happening this evening. So the things that
That was put down really.
get thrown at me, take punches as they go, Hank.
You gotta look.
I don't have many more years. We'll have the same neck color, my friend.
It'll be about.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
The fiscal note. And you probably.
Hey, let's grab a seat and get back in order here if we will. Okay, back on the record at 8:45. Madam Clerk, are we live?
Yes, we are.
All right, perfect. That brings us to item 11, unfinished business, ordinance 2025-20. Final year in budget adjustment. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt?
Move to adopt ordinance 2025-20 year-end final budget adjustment.
I'll second that.
So on our packet, that's 20 and 21. Thank you for the move in second. Staff report, Madam CFO.
Okay, this is, again, the second reading. So a couple of things that are on this is where we did a fiscal note ordinance, the very first one of the year. And what we anticipated happening did not happen. So this is kind of reversing that in one way. There's another part on here that has to do with some, they didn't use all their budgeted money for the police department. So they're asking to have that put into their fleet fund. And the final one on this report is to be able to move the funds from the litigation settlement to the reserve accounts, water and sewer reserve.
Okay, thank you for that. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to give testimony on this?
We do not have anybody signed up online.
All right, that takes us to council discussion. Who would like to take lead here? Please, Councilman Claus.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask the police chief to come up and say a few words.
Come up.
Oh, no, not come up, but discuss.
You'd like a report on the transfer? Yeah, so looking long-term over the next, however long I plan to be around here and beyond, 10 to 15 years, I'm trying to develop a sustainable process to sustain some of our vehicle purchase costs, offset some of those, also potentially some of the smaller regular use items in the department. Historically, for the last 12 years, we've worked really, really hard to get the vehicle fleet to where it's at. When I first started, we were in cars that were averaging 100,000 miles or so and breaking frequently and ending up moving and hot hopping from car to car just to find one that worked. We worked really hard over that period of time to get our current vehicle fleet average to about 53,000 miles, which if you've done any research, the average police car is used up about twice as fast as the average civilian car just based on how it's driven. I did extrapolate out just for your interest over the next 10 years. Continuing to replace 2 patrol vehicles every year keeps us at about a 42 to 50,000 average mileage for the entire fleet, and it sustains that. It doesn't exponentially rise, and it doesn't go any lower. This is obviously not calculating any, accidents or catastrophic failures. This is just if the fleet remains as it is. If we were to move to only 1 patrol vehicle replaced every year in 3 years, our entire fleet would be 20,000 miles more. By 5 years out, our entire fleet would be an average of almost 90,000 miles. And at 10 years, the entire fleet has an average of over 100,000 miles. So replacing 1 a year, the average mileage increases quite exponentially, putting us almost immediately right back to where we were 12 years ago. So my goal is to, up to this point, we haven't really maintained a positive balance in our fleet fund. We've drawn it down all the way to 0 and even beyond every single year. I made the decision my first year as chief to just buy the 1 vehicle in 2025, thereby leaving that account with a positive balance for the first time ever. This next year, we will need to go back to doing 2 a year to maintain that average fleet mileage, or we're going to get ourselves in trouble. But my goal is to maintain a positive balance in that account moving forward, and then to continually chip away at increasing the balance in that account as I have little bits of money that I can put that direction, because then it works for us. Every bit that's in there works for offsetting some of those vehicle costs. So that's some of the history and some of the information behind why I'm requesting. We had lower staffing than what would have been fully staffed for 2025. So that's where these additional funds come from. Like I said before, I did not go through painstakingly each GL and pull everything I could have. This is just basically the most round numbers with the account overages I had. But that's why I'm requesting to move them into 2026. Also projecting to buy 2 vehicles in 2026 and need those funds to do that.
Thank you, Chief. Councilman Claus, did you have a follow-up to that?
Oh, thank you very much, Chief.
All right. Councilman Brandt.
So I appreciate what you're trying to do here, but excuse me, when you're under under budget, when you have money left over, that money should go back to the general fund. That's the taxpayers' money. That means that taxpayers were overtaxed by that amount. And so if every year your budget is up here and you don't spend it all with the intention of putting that money into your fleet fund, instead of reducing your budget or returning it back to the taxpayers, I do have a problem with that. That's not the purpose of this fleet fund.
Are you suggesting that my lower staffing was padding the budget?
No, not at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything against you or the police department. I'm saying in general, the budget, we have been collecting far too much money from the taxpayers every single year for the last 7 years. And I don't know how to say this. So the fleet fund for the fire department is completely different than the police department. For the fire department, we have apparatus that's, $1 million or better. So this year, we're not going to budget for $1 million for the fire department, and the next year, nothing. So we need to build up the fire department's fleet fund. With the police department, the vehicles are $75,000. If you get 2 a year, that's 150,000. In our budget, we've got 160,000 into the fleet fund already this year, plus you're asking for another 226. You've stated that you want to build this fleet fund up to a high enough amount that you can buy cars off of it with the interest, and that would be millions of dollars sitting in your fleet fund. That same money in the general fund is collecting the same amount of interest. When you need a police car, you come to the council and say, I need to buy 2 police cars this year and we will budget for it.
So a couple, I see where you're coming from with that. A couple things I would add to that. Vehicles realistically are $100,000 a piece because there's a lot of very expensive equipment that goes in them that's above and beyond even just purchasing the vehicle and outfitting. For years, we have scrambled and scraped to pull that money from other places in creative ways. I wish I could say it was as simple as just coming to council and saying we need 200 grand for 2 new vehicles. In the 15 years I've been here, it's never worked that way because of budget constraints. We have to get creative. That's what I'm continuing to seek to do with this. I would also just remind the council, this idea was promulgated by Councilman Brandt months ago when we discussed it initially. I had brought it up probably 4 separate times in public meetings, and each time it's been received positively. In fact, the comment was, yeah, we do that every year with the fire department. It's concerning to me that now that has flipped 180 degrees. I'm not sure why that's taking place, but I think the logic of what I'm saying holds true. My goal is obviously not that the citizens of North Pole be overtaxed, but that money that I am spending on vehicles could be redirected to actually work for the citizens of North Pole, and that it's earning money. If it's in the general fund, it's not earmarked for vehicle purchases. It still has to make its way into my budget. If it's earning in the vehicle fleet fund itself, then I can project out, I can plan and adjust stuff wisely based on what's available with vehicles and with equipment at the time. So I appreciate the councilman's perspective on it. I just simply don't agree with what he's saying, and I'm concerned that it may work over the next 2 or 3 years, but long term, again, I'm thinking, what is this account going to look like, and what are vehicles going to cost 15, 20 years from now? We're never going to, till they invent a hover bike, we're always going to be buying vehicles.
Chief, I want to thank you for your dedication in thinking about our finances moving forward for the city of North Pole and for your department. This is a little outside the box thinking, bringing this forward to have a savings account for the police department to be able to purchase vehicles in the future. I look at the cost of a vehicle 5 years ago versus this year, and the increase that we have seen and will continue to see for the next 10 years is expanse as everything continues to increase. And I appreciate your diligence in taking the time and the effort to do the fact checking that's needed to know that this is a good investment for our city and for our police department's future. So thank you for that. Anyone else? Councilman Brandt.
So when I came to you, and I'll say this again, like I said last week, when I came to you, what I was suggesting is taking the $160,000 that we have budgeted for your police vehicles this year and putting that into the fleet fund. I never said anything about taking that plus everything else that you can possibly get and putting it in there. That I understand what you're trying to do with this, but if your goal is to have millions of dollars stashed away in your fleet fund, that's not a good use of taxpayers' money. You don't need millions of dollars. You need a couple $100,000 a year. We've already budgeted 160. This is another 226. That's almost $500,000 in there.
There is not $160,000 budgeted for vehicles.
So we had 60,000 from the required contribution. There's $80,000 from, I have it here somewhere, and then $20,000 that we put in this year. I assume that's what, I'll sit down with you and Trish and show you
Mr. Brent, if you have a fact, I'd appreciate it if your facts were
It's
correct
right here,
before you
Larry.
spoke it into the record.
Yes, it's right here. So budget reconciling revenue, 80,000, interest income, 20,000, transfer in 60,000. That's 160,000 in the 2026 proposed budget. So are you saying you want this $160,000 plus the $226,000 also?
Saying it.
This is for 2025.
It's for 2025, not 2026.
This is for next year, though.
Yeah, this would happen at the end of this year to be put into the
Right,
fleet.
I understand that,
and
right.
Not, that's the end of next year. That, the numbers you got right there.
Okay, so are you requesting the 226,000 plus 160? That's all I'm asking. I don't have a problem giving you 226 if that's all, but if we're going to put 226 plus 160 in there,
If I may, it does sound like you have a problem with that because you're arguing against it. I think it's certainly smart to move forward with this, knowing that we're going to order new police cars at the beginning of the year.
But
And
I
then
want-
at the end of the year, excuse me, I'm talking. I'll get to you in just a second if you wouldn't mind waiting until I finish my thought. Thank you, Councilman Brandt. I lost my train of thought. Councilman Brandt, please go ahead.
what I'm arguing against is building this fund up to millions of dollars, like you said, that you want it large enough to be able to buy cars off the interest of it. And that I don't think is an appropriate use of taxpayers' money. That money will sit in the general fund reserves and gain the exact same amount of interest as it will in the fleet fund, but it can be used for other purposes or anyway, never mind.
Any further discussion on this?
I'd just say I
Please, Chief.
respect Councilman Brandt willingness, his tenacity in putting forth his point. And I do respect the argument he's trying to make. Again, I just am concerned about the long range effects of what he's saying. So I fully trust the council to make the right decision, and I'll work with what I'm given.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would
Yeah.
anyone like to change? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Would anyone like to change their vote? Okay.
Okay, that passed 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate that. That brings us on to item 12A, Resolution 2025-14, establishing the 2025 bed tax grant distribution. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to introduce resolution 2025-14, establishing the 2025 bed tax grant distribution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Boy, normally we would have a staff report on this. We met as a bed tax committee and listened to the presentations. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Rolfe for being there, listening to those presentations. I wish that all council would have been there to listen to that, but I understand it's definitely a time constraint to come and listen, but valuable information at these meetings and to know what they're going to do with the money that they are and have requested. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to give testimony? And is there anybody in the audience who would like to give public testimony? Please.
We have nobody online, but in
Okay.
the
For
audience.
those in the room, please come forth. If you don't already have your name on the sign-in sheet, please add that. State your name and place of residence. Doesn't have to be exact. Thank you for being here.
Mayor Turch and members of the North Pole City Council. My name is John Poirier. I'm the president of North Pole Grange Number 6. I'm here tonight to express my deep disappointment in the outcome of this year's bed tax distribution, specifically the decision to allocate only $2,000 to the America 250 initiative out of a total of $143,000 awarded to activities in 2026, some of which may not support tourism, as is suggested by the absence of that wording in the resolution itself. The Grange requested $11,500, a figure based not on speculation, but on several years of experience, planning, and delivering this event for our community. That amount represents the minimum required to host a meaningful, well-run America 250 celebration in 2026. As you know, this is not just another event. It is the 250th anniversary of the United States, a once-in-a-generation milestone that will not come again in our lifetime. Some of us who are a little bit older might get to see some other ones, but most people won't. North Pole has an opportunity to stand proudly among communities nationwide that are preparing to honor this historic moment. Instead, the city's decision signals that this commemoration is a low priority compared to other funded activities. That message is disheartening, not only to the Grange volunteers who have invested years of work, but also to residents and visitors who expect North Pole to lead, not lag, when it comes to civic celebrations and heritage. The Grange has consistently delivered high-quality, family-friendly, community-building events with modest budgets and extensive volunteer labor. We have demonstrated reliability, fiscal responsibility, and a clear track record of success. The America 250 celebration is no exception, but it cannot be produced for $2,000. I respectfully ask the City Council to re-examine the awards in light of their appropriateness to meet bed tax intentions, as well as how the city is prioritizing its bed tax investments, especially when it comes to events that strengthen civic identity, attract visitors, and honor our shared history. The America 250 celebrations to be treated as the significant national milestone that it is. Thank you for your time and your service to our community.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Brandt.
I know your 4th of July event is always very well attended. What do you have planned for this particular celebration?
We've detailed it out in our bed tax application. I guess a couple of the highlights that we're hoping to be able to pull off this year is to have a flyover at the opening ceremony. It's totally dependent on factors outside of our control, but we do have a request in. We're working with the FAA right now to get all the clearances to do that. We're pretty much doing, for those of you who saw it and participated last year, that was our dry run for this for 2026. It will be generally the same schedule. We hoped to increase the number of musical performances, live musical performances, and certainly expect to attract more vendors and again, more people to attend. We would be able to do more advertising and capitalize on the wave of what I predict is going to be a real enthusiastic participation in 4th of July ceremonies around the country. But right here in the interior, the big ceremony we do is, I think, what makes our event real important. I know there are other activities that occur in the city, the parade being one of them, which is a great display of patriotism and activity. Our event focuses on kind of a solemn ceremony, and we try to focus on addressing what independence really means for the country.
Any other questions? Please, Councilman Claus.
Thank you. Mr. Poirier, would you entertain, because you mentioned something about applicants in general, would you entertain our clerk, and would be art with the mayor if our clerk would read the requirements for applicants?
Not up to me.
Yeah, if that's what you're requesting, I don't see any problem with that as long as the clerk can pull that up. Do you happen to know what section of code that is?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it'd be valuable for our listeners, especially at home, who have no
Actually,
idea.
certainly can type in bed tax 409.25. Four dot oh nine
I'm just wondering if it's been codified online yet, since it was just,
It has not.
025.
The one online is the old version.
okay.
So
Hold on one second. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Okay, I'm reading from the newest ordinance. The bed tax grant selection committee shall meet to discuss, that's probably not what you want to hear. Awards shall be determined after each applicant has presented to the committee and the committee has deliberated on all applications. Each applicant shall be given equal time to present their need and field question by committee regarding their application. After deliberation, the committee shall issue a formal recommendation to the council regarding the award each applicant should receive. Yep.
Go ahead, John,
So,
while she's looking for that.
I heard a comment that there was something that there's a new regulation that's just been codified. My concern is that was, if you read it, if you're going to apply the new regulation to the applications that were submitted before the regulation came into effect, I don't know how to deal with that. It would seem that if the applications would be evaluated on the regulations that were in effect at the time the applications were turned in, just as a good, clean way of doing business, not having everybody turn in their applications and then come up with a new set of rules to evaluate the applications after they were turned in. It may or may not make a big difference how things shake out. It just seems inconsistent with doing things in a fair and open process. It may have no effect or bearing at all, but it's just looks funky to me.
Okay, thank you for that. Madam Clerk?
Okay, grant award criteria. A, show how use of funds will contribute significantly to the growth and promotion of the city of North Pole. B, show how the grant monies will be used to supplement successful ongoing program of activities or a new program that needs initial support to accomplish its stated goals. Grant applications will be available. Those are the two criteria.
Please, Councilman Claus.
Thanks, Mayor. So, Mr. Poirier, you would agree that with the old one and the new one, from my understanding, that these grant monies are to go to organizations and entities that are doing something for the city of North Pole to benefit the city of North Pole, not necessarily something outside the city of North Pole.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions. Thank you. Will please state your name and area of residence, please?
So I'm a North Pole resident. My name is Caitlin Poirier. I am the secretary for the North Pole Grange number 6, as well as the event coordinator for the Independence Day 250th anniversary of America celebration here in North Pole. For the 250th anniversary of our nation, this 4th of July is more than a celebration. As John said, it is a once-in-a-lifetime milestone. Hosting a community festival that is safe, inclusive, and worthy of that historic moment requires adequate funding for logistics, accessibility, entertainment, and public safety. A $2,000 allocation does not reflect the true scale, cost, or significance of an event honoring 250 years of American independence. Investing more in this celebration is an investment in the community pride, civic engagement, and honoring our shared history as the way it deserves. This event was planned with a realistic itemized budget of $11,500, covering essentials like music, sound, sanitation, safety, staging, seating, and accessibility. A $2,000 allocation does not even cover one full item on that list. Not the stage, not the sound, not the safety measures. Expecting a community to deliver a safe, dignified, and meaningful celebration of America's 250th anniversary on a fraction of the required funding undervalues both the event and the people attending it. This is more than just a community picnic. This is the most important year we are going to see in our lifetime, and the investment in this event should reflect its true scale and importance. If we truly value this milestone and the people we serve, our investment should reflect the significance of what we are celebrating.
Okay, any questions? Please, Councilman Brandt.
How many people do you expect to attend this roughly?
We had well over 400 last year. I'm looking to at least go over 500.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who would like to give public testimony on this agenda item?
Thank you. I'd like to speak in support of the Grange, especially the 250-year celebration. Last year, during the 4th of July, me and a group of business people were out at the Grange putting on an event. The money that we raised from that event, we dedicated it to put on new steps for the Grange building, because that's an old building. It needs a lot of maintenance. And I know that the events they put on out there reflect great credit on North Pole. For instance, the art shows that are out there almost every week, and all the local artists bring their ware out there and buy, and there's a lot of buying and selling going on. Also, there's a program that gives information on what's happening in the political area of the state. And there's different speakers there every week that come and participate. It is an organization that gives the residents of this area something to look forward to utilize their time. And I know that an organization that I'm a member of, you know, we're supporting the Grange. It is a valuable asset to the city. And I think that I would, if I had a magic wand, I'd say, you know, let's bump that up a little bit and be a little more inclusive and kind of reward an organization that has done a great benefit to the city of North Pole. If you go out there on that 4th of July thing, that place was packed. You know, there was not enough room to get a lot of things in there. And, you know, it's a great experience for North Pole. So I'd appreciate, you know, this council looking at that. And I'm not saying take money from somebody else and give it to them. I'm saying let's look at how we can better fund an organization in this community that produces a great benefit to the people of North Pole.
Thank you, Mr. Bartos, for that. Appreciate it. Any questions? Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate your help.
Anyone else who'd like to speak to this? Please step forth. Yeah, step forth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike Prox, 1015 Meadow, North Pole. And I would like to speak, I guess, in favor of the Grange and particularly that 4th of July celebration. I've been out there for the last 2 or 3 years, and it is quite an event. Lots of people come out there and they stay for quite a long time. And there are vendors and organizations that get a lot of exposure from that event. And then this particular year, this celebration, 250 years of our Constitution, it's going to be a statewide effort. It's and North Pole should step up, I think, and join in with the state effort. So this does seem to be an inopportune time to cut the funding towards that program.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else who would like to give testimony to this? All right, with that, we'll close testimony and open it up for council discussion. Please, Councilman Claus.
So Mayor, I'm wondering, since the information in front of us to vote on is a recommendation from the committee, correct? The council has the ability to adjust those numbers either by a percentage or by a dollar amount by making a motion, for example. Would that be accurate?
It would be accurate. Council has the authority and does require council's approval. We have $143,000, $143,390 that as a bed tax committee, 6 of us went through, discussed. I would maybe take a deep breath and see what else is said here, since 3 of those committee members are with us this evening here on council. Ms. Rolfe, please.
Yeah, so I have concerns about this actually having any legality to be in front of us currently. The motion, or I guess the new ordinance to amend the bed tax committee makeup was passed prior to the bed tax committee meeting. It required 7 members, 2 of which were from the hotel business, 2 from the business world, and then the other 3 could be from wherever, council members, whomever. When the ordinance first passed, you made statements to the clerk that you were going to have to make some phone calls and get some new committee members. And then I don't know what happened between that meeting and the next meeting. And the next meeting, you're like, nope, they've been on it, waiting for it for a year. I'm not making any changes. It's not really your choice whether or not to follow the ordinances that are passed by council. It's your obligation to do so. So this should not be in front of us today because the committee should never have met as they didn't meet the criteria set out in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Comments, council discussion, please, Councilman Williams.
The issue I had with when we went through with this is in my view, everybody should get something when they come up for the bed tax. We had one person that didn't get anything. And most of the individuals felt that that was okay. I didn't feel that that was okay. If a person have come up here and put their spill on, hey, they should get something. Whether or not you thought it was good, bad, or indifferent, okay? Everybody stepped up to the plate as far as I'm concerned from what I heard. That's all I'm gonna say.
Councilman Brandt.
So every single one of these are probably very worthy causes. I have no idea because we don't have any kind of information in our packet to what they're asking money for, what they plan on using the money for. So we have no way to determine whether it follows our code or not. I do know the world's biggest backpack. Like I said before, that is a very worthy organization and a great charity, but it doesn't meet our code. And we talked about that before. And here they are again, having another $10,000 where we have the grain shares saying that they can use that money to put on an event that will bring 500 people into the community. So I do have a problem with that.
If I may, since you have code open in front, would you mind reading that code now that you've found that?
First, it says, this is the changes that you made. It says, each applicant must be licensed to conduct business within the city of North Pole and the state of Alaska. Each applicant must be current on all outstanding sales tax obligations. The committee will consider the economic development and tourism impact that each applicant provides to the city of North Pole.
Please, Councilman Schuster.
Question for Mayor Brandt through the chair. Just on your last comment about the backpack giveaway and the celebration, how do you think those two items differ from bringing 500 people into the city?
So I don't see the world's biggest backpack contributing to economic development or tourism where the Grange does. And that is a requirement in our code for use of bed tax money.
Madam Clerk, would you pull up bed tax code, please, on the screen that we have so we can look at what was versus what had it changed to?
And on 11.
November 4th of 2025. Can we shrink that down a little bit or change the window so it's a little easier to read?
You need to hit the arrow. No, that one. Yep.
Okay, if you scroll down, applicant must complete the application. Sorry, can you scroll down a little further? Okay, keep scrolling, please. Okay, right there. Okay, can you keep scrolling? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Please, Councilman Kloss.
Thank you, Mayor. May I just try to read the A and B for A and B? Or ask the clerk to read it, please? Yes.
Show how the use of Funds will contribute significantly to the growth and promotion of the City of North Pole, show how the grant monies will be used to supplement a successful ongoing program of activities or a new program that needs initial support to accomplish its stated goals.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Brandt, you had your hand raised.
I was just wondering if somebody on the committee can go through and just tell us what each of these organizations are going to be using the money that was allocated to them for.
I certainly can try unless someone else wants to step up. You know, we had an entire evening where each presenter had 10 minutes and Councilwoman Rolfe, you were there for the presentations. Maybe you can also speak to that if you wouldn't mind, since you weren't part of the committee, but you were here for the presentations.
You're correct. I was here for the presentations. I listened to it. I took notes. I don't think most of those who presented, or at least not all of them, understood the idea behind the bed tax grants is to increase economics in the city of North Pole. So the idea that they're supposed to be presenting to the city of North Pole is how will their event help raise the economy or bring people in to spend money in the city of North Pole. I agree with Mr. Brandt that World's Biggest Backpack doesn't qualify under our code for a grant award. They talked about how they service any school, which is great. And I agree that it's a great cause, but she also talked about how the top 3 schools that they provide the most to, that the most people come from, are all Title I schools, which are your low-income schools. Anybody who's coming out for that, 9 times out of 10, they're coming out, they're getting the school supplies, and they're leaving because they don't have the extra funds to be spending the money in the city of North Pole. That's why they're here, to get the free school supplies. They can't afford to buy the school supplies for their kids. So while I agree that it is a great program, and it's a program that individuals should support, I don't think it meets the criteria of the bed tax grant. Obviously, North Pole Chamber of Commerce did. I thought Bad Rascals and Artisans and Partisans was actually a really great presentation. I'm really disappointed to see that they were given so little money. They had a great presentation. They had great information as to what their intent and use was. Their intent was to bring people into North Pole to make it more of an artistic location for people to come. Their 2 ideas that they wanted the money for is that they would have an event that would coincide with the 4th of July parade, and it would actually occur on the parade route. And their other event would, I didn't write down the date, so I don't remember what date they said the other event would take place for. But the other event was to give away art supplies to encourage young artists to be more involved, and which could also go to support the Grange and their art galleries that they do, because this would be getting supplies to more young artists. The Grange had great presentations for the Grange itself, and then also for the 4th of July picnic that's going to be taking place. And I agree with Councilman Claus that the amount given here is not sufficient, and that it should have been raised. They had a great presentation on how it would help the economy, how it has helped the economy, how it's grown over the last several years that it's taken place. I've seen some posts since the presentation occurred asking for suggestions from the community of how to grow it even more. One of the suggestions was actually to have it at North Pole Middle School and kind of have it more accessible there, because right now it's not the most accessible for those who have any issues getting around, because you have to walk a trail. There's not parking right at it. And one of the suggestions was to do like a carnival type event in the parking lot of the middle school, and then to have old time games actually at the Grange, and then an art show inside of the Grange to grow it even more. And I thought that was an excellent idea that was shared, and I thought it was fantastic. There right now they're already thinking about what can we do to start planning this so that they can have a great event. So it's very disappointing to see that the bed tax committee only gave so little money to them. I don't understand honestly why any money was given to Fairbanks Economic Development Committee, because when he was even asked, if we give you this money, what are you going to do for us? He literally said, it didn't matter if you give us money or not, we're going to do the same thing. If somebody comes to me like that and says, if you give me money or not, I'm going to do the same, I'm not giving you the money. I'm going to get it without giving you the money. That money's going to go somewhere else because clearly it's needed somewhere else. So I thought it was crazy that he said that. And then North Pole Booster Club was at least entertaining in their presentation with how little they understood when they got the scoreboard last year. My understanding is that that came from monies from the bed tax grants. I agree that it qualifies. I just think that their plans are not very well thought out because basically they thought they'd get the scoreboard up here and they just put it up and then learned that they had the scoreboard all year and couldn't do anything with it because they didn't have the infrastructure to put it up. So now they're coming back and saying, hey, can we have more money? Because basically we didn't know what we were doing and we couldn't do it last year. I mean, that's my take on the presentations as I sat in and listened to them. Oh, and then the Literacy Council is who didn't make the list, and they came out and talked about how they wanted to put up cards to give out information about their new locations because they're currently split into different locations, and about information on how you can get books. And they didn't make the list, but they did present at the committee.
So it's not okay for the world's biggest backpack to have people come into the city, but it's okay to give out art supplies for Bad Rascals because it's on the parade route. Is that what you said?
No.
Okay.
So that was two different events. Bad Rascals is going to be doing an art event on the parade route
Okay.
that will draw people in. It's another thing. Their second event that they talked about was to be giving out supplies, art supplies, and giving ways to be involved in the community. So they're looking at how to draw people to the community and then also make them involved in the community. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what World's Biggest Backpack does. I think they're a great organization. However, the purpose of their organization is to give out school supplies to those who need them and those who cannot afford them. People who cannot afford school supplies are not going to come out and get school supplies and then go spend money somewhere else because they don't have the money for that. And so that's why I don't believe they qualify. Their program is not meant to increase economic development or tourism for the city of North Pole, which is what bed tax money is specifically designated to go towards.
Councilman Brandt.
There's one more on the list. Do you recall what Interior Alaska American Legion Post 99 requested $5,000 for?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over that one. Her presentation was entertaining.
Go ahead, Miss Rolfe.
Sorry. Her presentation was entertaining because she made an offhand comment about people waiting to intern their loved ones, some on kitchen floors, and I knew what that reference was about. But they're a new American Legion. They just started, I think, this year. So they're fairly new, but they're going to be putting together brochures for those who will be interning their loved ones in the new Veterans Cemetery in Salsha, and their brochure will specifically talk about locations where they can eat and stay within the city of North Pole and the surrounding areas versus staying in Fairbanks to intern their loved ones. And then the other part of their presentation was talking about how they will be making wreaths to put on the graves of those who do intern their loved ones.
In addition to the North Pole Chamber of Commerce, who gave a lengthy presentation about what they plan on doing with the money. I will tell you that debate during that committee was very open and honest about the use of this money per our new requirements that require it to be an economic value and an economic driver to our city, and what they bring in, along with not being entertainment, which was a code that was presented, I believe, by you, Ms. Rolfs, or by you, Mr. Brandt, that withdrew and changed that to disallow bed tax money to go towards entertainment, which is the reason that the bed tax committee chose that way, because a lot of the 250th events were related to entertainment, which was proposed. Councilman Brandt.
I don't recall that at all. I never said anything. There was never any discussion about entertainment whatsoever, period.
There was nothing removed from code about entertainment either. The section that was removed when the ordinance was brought forward. It had nothing to do with the changes that either I offered or Mr. Brandt offered. And the change that I offered, one, wasn't followed, and secondly, was voted unanimously and approved by all of us to change the makeup of the committee. There's not anything in the current ordinance or in the formal ordinance that talks anything about entertainment. So I honestly don't understand your comments.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? Please.
So far, from what I've heard, the two presentations that meet all the requirements fully have been the Grange and the Chamber.
Okay. Thank you for that, Councilman Claus. Any further discussion? Please, Councilman Brandt.
In the changes that you made to the ordinance, you said that each applicant must be licensed to conduct business within the city of North Pole and state of Alaska. And I don't know if each one of these applicants have a business license in the city of North Pole, and that was a change that you made to the ordinance. So I would like to say I do agree with what Ms. Rolfe said about FEDCO. I don't see that there's more worthy causes to give the money to than them if they say that they don't necessarily need the money. So I'd like to move that we take the $10,000 from the world's biggest backpack and give that to the North Pole Grange number 6 for their 250th celebration.
Second.
Discussion. Please. Councilman Skips, I'm sorry.
That celebration, it is really good. I know a few years ago when we first started it used to be at the Santa Claus house, and it moved to the high school. And then when Mayor Walsh got him, that's when it went over to the Grange. My family, we were really involved in that. But with that being said, the moving the 10,000 from the backpack, if you weren't really here for the briefing that each person gave on it, I don't know. I'll just say it. I don't think you have a right to take monies from other places because you weren't here for the presentation. And as far as the people on the committee, you weren't here in the discussion where all 7 people agreed on it. Everybody agreed on all these monetary amounts. So I don't see, to me, I don't think you have a right. You do though, as council says, we all have to agree with it. And I agree with that completely. But taking it from somebody else that you were not present for the whole, being part of the committee, I don't think you should really have a say in saying, take monies from this and take monies from this. And this committee or this company isn't good because they don't give this or they don't give that. You weren't here for the briefing about what they gave. And I know a lot of them, I mean, how I first started saying how I do like the Grange, a lot of the Grange, that money's got dropped down because a lot of it, and it says in code, you can't use it for entertainment. A lot of the monies that they wanted was for entertainment purposes, for a stage, for the band, for the musicians. A lot of it was for entertainment, and on code, it says it cannot be used for entertainment or alcoholic beverages.
Councilman Schuster.
I just had a question for Mr. Brandt. You had started to, say something about Fedco and then went to the world's biggest backpack. So how did you decipher between those two?
Please, Councilman Brandt.
So first, Mr. Skips, I wasn't there. Obviously, I'm not on the committee. The committee makes recommendations to the council and the council decides how to spend the money. We've talked about the world's biggest backpack, and again, a great worthy charity, but it doesn't meet the requirements for this code. And again, we can't pick and choose what codes we want to follow. We all took the same oath. We have to follow the code. So the Fedco money, I don't think either one of them should get the money because neither one of them qualify. Well, Fedco qualifies, but they said they don't need the money. So why not give that to somebody else? And then the world's biggest backpack just doesn't qualify.
Sorry. Councilman Claus.
Thank you, Mayor. And speaking of code, it brings it back to what Councilwoman Rolfe said before about the composition of the actual committee, because we're talking about a whole bunch of different things here. And I want to make sure that whatever we're going to vote on this evening, if we do vote on anything this evening, that we're complying with the code. Part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rolfe.
So I just had a question. It doesn't, I guess, technically relate to the amendment before us, but under 3, the city of North Pole bed tax grants cannot support requests for the following. One of those is social services activities. Isn't world's biggest backpack a social services activity?
Okay, thank you. I guess no one's going to answer your question, but thanks for the question. Any other discussion? Councilman Brandt.
I do agree with Mr. Claus and Ms. Rolfe that this is troublesome that the committee that was supposed to decide this was not the committee that did decide this, and nothing against the committee as it stands. But if the committee had been reorganized the way it was supposed to be, then the members of the committee would have been better suited to determine whether or not the monies qualify for economic development or tourism. And again, the world's biggest backpack obviously is a social services organization, but I don't know what to do about the makeup of the committee, because if, like you were saying, this is not valid because
Just point of order. Does this have to do with the amendment at hand, sir? Any further discussion on the amendment at hand? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. And the amendment was to remove the $10,000 from World's Biggest Backpack and move that to line 29, Grange number 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Rolfe?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
No.
Mr. Williams,
No.
Mayor Turch.
No. Would anyone like to change their vote?
And that passed 4-3.
Okay. Please, Councilwoman Rolfe.
Yeah, I would make a motion to send the resolution back to the Bed Tax Committee after it's been reorganized. Because as stated previously, this is not before us properly. The Bed Tax Committee did not have the makeup as required under the ordinance, and it's not properly before us. So it should be sent back to the Bed Tax Committee to meet again, to go back over the proposals as a proper committee.
So if I may, you're requesting that all of the applicants come back in and give their presentation so a new committee can decide how to appropriately distribute the bed tax funds. Is that
Correct.
your request?
That is my request, yes.
Okay.
I'll
second.
Yeah, if it's a motion, I would second.
Okay. Discussion.
Everybody was aware at the time that we made the change to the makeup of the committee. And it was even stated after that motion was passed that new committee members would need to be sought out. And as I stated earlier, I don't know what happened between that meeting and the next meeting, and it was decided the committee was going to stay the same. Our ordinance specifically says who is supposed to make up the committee. The committee was not made up of those individuals. It had 6 people at it. This is not properly before us.
Please, if I may. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get people to volunteer for a committee and come down and meet? Just show up. Just show up. Be involved. We have 3 empty seats for super important things that we can't fill. Very difficult to fill. Nobody is stepping up to the plate. I can scream from this mic and say we need help. We need people to step up to the plate. And it doesn't happen. I love your heart, and I love the fact that you changed it less than a month before Bed Tax Committee met without any sort of thought or idea of the difficulties it would take to get someone to show up. I appreciate it. I really do. And I don't disagree with you that sending it back and having them talk about it, I do find it to be extremely inconvenient to those nonprofits who showed up the first time to give testimony. And if that was your true concern, yes, you sat through the entire presentation portion, never said a thing. Please, Councilman Skips.
I don't think what I was going to ask you. Annually, when you do your committee reports, when you make your committees, when do you make those committees?
Those committees start in January.
Okay, so once those committees are formed,
throughout the entire calendar year, yes, sir.
How can you, once they're formed in 25, before the committee seats, how can you change it in that same calendar year? Shouldn't it go in effect the next calendar year?
We could change it.
If you go to codify it.
Yeah, I agree. And we could change it in a month, no problem, and shake that up. It's also required to get council approval on any committee change, which then becomes more problematic with a 30-day window. Councilman Schuster.
Yeah, I just said one. Is there anything in that code itself on disbursement date, or is it just this resolution?
Disbursement date's supposed to be by the end of the year.
And then item D, Bed Tax Selection Committee shall meet the last Tuesday of November or before the 1st of December to hear proposals from applicants.
We wouldn't be able to follow that. No. If we were to have to reorganize and send it back.
Well, it's already not been followed.
Yeah, correct. So I mean, we're choosing which one to, to do. I think it's probably, I mean, it's a big ask to have everybody come re-give their presentations. I think it's almost, I'm sure it's not worth it for some of these groups receiving smaller funds, which, but I don't know. I understand, like the mayor said, I understand. I question the legitimacy of it as well, but yeah, I'm not sure what to.
Councilman Brandt.
I would just say this could have all been avoided if the mayor had just followed the code to begin with and reorganized the committee as required. This was an ordinance that he brought forward at the last minute. It wasn't our choice. So blaming it on us doesn't make any kind of sense to me. He had plenty of time to reorganize the committee and before the presentations had to be made, and he chose not to. So this could have all been avoided by him doing that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. The bus wheels feel great. Please, Councilman Skips.
Just to reply what you said, if the committee was formed, if the mayor approved the committees in January, how can you change it 3 weeks prior to doing it that same year to change it when the mayor already approved it?
And it was approved by council.
If there's any, if it takes effect, it should take effect the next calendar year, not that same calendar year.
You have to put that in the ordinance. You can put an effective date in the ordinance that changes the effective date of it. That was not put into this ordinance, and therefore it goes into effect as soon as it is signed. Because of that, this became the new rules, and the committee no longer met the requirements as set out in our ordinance, which required it to be reformed. And I understand that was a huge ask of the council to ask you, and you left the meeting with the anticipation of having to make some calls, and then the next meeting, your attitude had completely changed. And it wasn't that you came back to us and said, man, I called 15 people, I called 20 people, and nobody wants to, submit their time. I cannot reorganize this committee in the short period of time between now and when it meets. Instead, your attitude when you came back was, they've waited a year to be able to hear this. I'm not going to disappoint them now, and we're going forward as it is.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rolfs. Anyone else? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to send this back to committee. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
No.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
No.
Mayor Church.
No. Would anyone like to change their vote?
That passed 4-3.
Okay, perfect. That moves us on to our next item of business. Item B, Resolution 2025-15, establishing the 2026 legislative priorities. Can I get a motion to introduce, please?
Actually, can we do a point of order first? We need to do a motion to suspend the rules. It's 9:57.
No kidding, look at that. Already. Excellent.
So I would move to suspend the rules to suspend adjournment to 12 p.m. midnight.
Second.
Please call the roll on that.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe, sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Okay. Motion to introduce Resolution 2025, a resolution establishing the City of North Pole's legislative priorities for the second regular session of the 34th Legislature, January 2026. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Is there anyone signed up to give public testimony on this?
There's nobody signed up online.
Is there anyone in the room who would like to give public testimony on this resolution? Okay, that moves us on to council discussion. Sorry, I skipped over staff report. Let me back up here. I put these resolutions together based on need for our city, based on future needs for our city. Truly trying to think about the city of North Pole. Priority one, the realignment of the Alaska Railroad Eielson branch that splits our city in half is a good thing. It's a good thing to be able to move freight to Eielson. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. But the fact that it takes up what could be great commercial space in our city for expansion is a problem. It also boondoggles some residential infrastructure out of Brookside Park and causes access to the Grange to be very difficult. If that spur rail line was moved out on the relocation to the dike and expanded along with the Northern Rail expansion to Delta, we could put in a terminal here in North Pole, have rail tourism coming from Delta into North Pole, and move things forward while increasing access to good residential land, not only in the city, but just outside of the city, and open up space for commercial building, which we desperately need. If we are going to thrive as a city, having business locations, pretty important. Priority two, the downtown water main replacement plan. That's a 100% designed project ready to move forward. Priority three, the North Pole Fire Department. Priority four, Welcome Center in North Pole to be completed. Priority five, an indoor training facility, not just for police, but EMS, PAWS, any other type of group that needs to use indoor training facilities, especially on a day like today. Priority six, the development of Newby Park. And priority seven, complete the dual bay hangar for the refueling squadron 168. Council discussion.
I thought
Please, Councilman Claus.
I thought those were really well thought out and comprehensive. Thank you.
Can you explain the first priority a little bit more? I guess I just don't understand how it increases our economic development.
So the Eielson Rail Branch runs on the other side of the highway headed towards town past the Club 11, where the borough owns 440 acres of buildable land out there, but you can't get any access to it because the railroad either one won't allow access to cross at a road level crossing, or B, they just plumb won't allow access to cross, regardless if it's at a cross, an at-grade crossing or not. That would open that entire piece of property up and all of those expanse of acres to residential commercial building if the railroad was moved. I know it seems like a big ask, and it sounds a little backwards to be asking it. But truly, when you look at the organizational needs of our city moving forward in the next 20 years, if that rail continues to run where it does, we've essentially pigeonholed the entire city in not being able to expand either residentially or economically to bring businesses into the city of North Pole. The large tract of land that was talked about many years ago by Latitude 63 wanting to build in Brookside Park, they own 45, 48 acres over there behind the Grange. They would like to develop that into a subdivision and put 263 domiciles on that piece of property with the plans that they presented in 2023. Without having access to a Type 2 connector road like the Old Rich, that would be devastating for Blanket Boulevard, Fifth Avenue, Psalms, and Busby, and would change the entire feel of that side of the city overnight. Construction trucks, large equipment, paving products, and they still have infrastructure to put in. They'd still have to put in water and sewer, which means another grade crossing for our water and sewer. With the rail line in the way, that would cost the city, I think, $8,000 a year for a crossing underneath the rail to provide water and sewer. Thinking about long-term strategic planning, it's pretty damn important to be able to access our land, access the things that we already have. And I love the railroad. I truly do. I want to see them thrive. But we need to find a way to work together and make that happen. And then if the Northern Rail expansion does happen out to Delta and they start hauling ore, military equipment or anything else, the amount of traffic now that will be traveling through North Pole just won't be coming to Petrostar or going to Eielson. It will be going to Greeley. It will be going to Delta. It will be going to wherever, and it will increase rail traffic on the line that we already have, which isn't great for North Pole. To me, that's why I put it as number one, and thank you for the question. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilman Brandt.
So priorities number 5, 6, and 7 don't have any costs associated with them. Do you have estimates for those?
At one time, priority 5 was estimated about 6,000 during Dutra's last year, I think is what he had requested, or 6 million. For 6, the development of Newby Park, I don't have any idea the range on that. And for 7, that has already been allocated, and I would actually like to make an amendment to item 7. I printed out my amendment because it doesn't change the true content and the idea moving it forward. It just changes the wording a little bit to read priority 7, complete the dual bay Alaska Air National Guard hangar for the 168th wing. The 168th wing of the Alaska Air National Guard based at Eielson Air Force Base plays a vital role in national defense, Arctic readiness, aerial refueling, and homeland security operations for our state and country. The construction of a modern bay dual hangar is essential to ensuring the 168th Wing's continued ability to support mission readiness in the United States Indo-Pacific, Arctic protection strategies, and emergency response capabilities throughout Alaska and the world. Additionally, the dual bay hangar is critical to the 168th Wing's selection for future mission aircraft. The city of North Pole values its nearest neighbor, Eielson Air Force Base, and recognizes the importance of military families and service members, all of which are a valued part of our North Pole community. And I would like to make a motion to change the wording for priority number 7 to what I just read.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on that? Madam Clerk, please call the roll on that amendment.
On the amendment read by Mayor Church, Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? I would like to say, before we go any further, that I don't anticipate, Mike Prax, thank you for being here. I don't anticipate you being able to fund every single one of these priorities. But these are priorities of the city of North Pole that have to be talked about at this time. You have to put it out there if you want it. And these certainly are talking points that could go on for the next 3 years and probably not change a whole lot, but be a focus for the city of North Pole moving forward so that we are prepared for the next 20 and 50 years of our city. Please, Councilman Brandt.
I will say I did attend the joint session of the interior legislatures in the Borough Assembly when they gave their legislative priority list. And what I heard from the legislators over and over again is this year is going to be really tight. There's not a whole lot of money for this type of thing. And the money that they do have will probably prioritize federal matching grants to extend the available money that the state does have. But also they suggested far fewer priorities be presented to them, and I agree with that. I think that we're more than likely not going to get any of these, and I think we all realize that. But maybe if we only ask for one or two things, maybe they would consider it more likely than if we ask for, pie in the sky things. So that's just my comment there. And then also I'd like to say, none of us had any input on any of these recommendations. The first time I saw or heard about any of these was when we got our meeting packet last week. So we did not have any input on any of these.
So I did mention in my mayor's comments meetings ago that I was trying to put this together and asked for input and received none. So we're at that time where we're out of time. So I put it together myself and presented it and figured if you didn't like it, you'd change it, or you could postpone it to the next meeting, which I'll be gone, and you guys can pass it without me. Please, thank you for joining us, Rep. Prax.
Yeah, thank you. Just to Councilmember Brandt's point, well taken, focus on one or two. But those that apply to the state legislature, we can get together. You have to get a capital request, CAPSIS request sent in, and then that gets debated in the course of setting the budget. And I wouldn't count on any of these. Frankly, this is going to be a tight year, but you got to do it. And this is not bad. As the mayor said, it was a statement of where we think we should be going. And we can talk to the railroad. We can talk to the federal delegation about the railroad. We can talk to the railroad about the railroad. We can talk to the federal delegation about that hangar, and et cetera. And it keeps the conversation going. So it's fine.
A point of order, Ms. Rolfs. I appreciate the fact that you're texting your husband in the audience, but if you could set your phone down while we have testimony, I'd really appreciate it.
Only paying attention to anything that's.
Okay. Further discussion. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On Resolution 2025-15, establishing the 2026 legislative priorities. Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Okay, that passed 7-0. Thank you. That moves us on to a request for council, fast planning, local match contribution, an additional $3,152. Director Glidden.
Hello. So this is just two projects to resurface a couple of roads here in North Pole that was requested in 2023. They put it out to bid. They got the bids back and it's more than the estimate. So we've already paid $6,000 in match. But with the bids coming in higher, we would have to put in another $3,000 for the match. That's what this is about.
Thank you for that. Do we have anyone signed up for testimony, Madam Clerk?
We have nobody online.
Point of order, I don't think this was actually moved.
Thank you for the point of order. It wasn't. I would like to move to introduce the request to council and move for approval of the fast planning local match contribution of additional $3,152.
Okay.
Thank you for your point of order, Councilwoman Ralph. Appreciate it. Is there anyone signed up for public testimony on this item?
There is not.
Anyone in the room like to speak to this item?
I have one question.
Council discussion, please. Councilman Williams.
How long has this been on the books to get paid, get it squared away? How many months has $3,000 been in the system?
I believe they asked for it over a month, probably 2 months ago, maybe.
2 months ago? Is this something, Tim, that you could have signed and is it within your preview to sign for this?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason I didn't is because the request came from FAST with the mayor's signature block on the bottom. And so if I just approved it and sent them the money and then asked the mayor to sign the form, I felt like it would be backwards. So
I don't
I've
want to see
been-
you get hung up in something that should have been done a long time ago, have been signed and have you take the blame for something that's not your fault. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
It should have been done what? When it came in, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, the money has already been transferred in our budget so that the Public Works Fast Match has the $3,500 in it already. So we're ready. If you guys approve it, we can cut them a check.
It'll get approved. So we can get this done. Okay.
Any further discussion, please? Councilman Brandt.
I'm just curious, I know that we have to have the 9.03% match, but then the match contingency that's required, we have to pay that also. Will that be returned to us if they don't use that?
Yes.
Okay.
And if it doesn't get funded, this next calendar year, we'll probably see another increase come to the table. I would guess very similar to what it is today, if it doesn't get chosen and funded. And one thing that we did talk about is trying to reprogram this money if council decided not to do this. Tim and I talked about trying to reallocate these funds to other programs that we as the city of North Pole needed, but he did some checking, I believe, through the technical committee. And what were your findings there, Tim?
Oh, so they're already in contract with these two. So if we backed out now, it would probably cost us some money in breach of contract, but we couldn't reallocate this money to something else. That's already been, it's too late for that. So these projects are theoretically going to go through.
Well-
They already have bids and they already have contractors lined up. So it's unlikely that these will get pushed another year.
Councilman Brandt.
So in your memo to us, you say that, what is it? We're basing this on the $15 a square foot from our 2025 pavement repair contract.
No, that was just a reference.
Oh,
So
okay.
if we don't allow FAST to pay
Okay.
this giant portion of it where we only pay the 9%, if we wanted to do it ourselves, what would it cost us?
Okay, I was just making sure that it wasn't, the cost wasn't going to go up next year, because obviously we're not doing the paving till next year and we'll have a new contract next year.
No, it was just a reference so that you guys could
Right.
see what these projects are gonna cost us, because we're just doing the match versus if we tried to do it without FAST.
Okay, I apologize, I misread that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
The approval of the request to council fast planning local match contribution 3,152. Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes.
Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes. Would anyone like to change their vote? Okay, that count, I believe, is 7-0, correct, Madam Clerk?
Correct.
All right, that brings us on to 13. Council comments excluding the mayor. Where do we start this evening?
We'll start with Mr. Brandt,
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Skips,
I have nothing also.
Mr. Claus,
Thank you. I would like to volunteer to be on the bed tax committee. And I also want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Ms. Rolfe,
Yes, I just have a short comment that I'm offended by the mayor's comments earlier on his apology that he made to our deputy clerk when he insinuated that council members basically pulled you aside on your personal time to talk about council business. He clearly makes it sound like the only time that we can talk to staff is when we're here in the building. Other than that, I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas. See you in the new year.
Mr. Schuster,
Yeah, I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas as well.
Mr. Williams,
I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and be careful out there. When it's cold, the vehicles will do tell a tale, every one of them out there. So please, please remember that. And what I'd like to see down the road is when we got things that need to be paid, we need to get at it and not diddle daddle, because that can cause us problems down the road. People blaming people for putting blame on somebody else when somebody else is at fault. I mean, if we got to pay the bill, if the money's there, pay the bill. You know, don't stretch things out, because that causes problems. You know, we have issues and we just need to work at them much better. Work as a team, not individual. Stay out of other people's business. That's important. Okay, because all these guys can run their own business. We don't need anybody in their business, because that causes problems down the road too. Everybody needs to look at that. If somebody needs help, then help them. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But don't try and run somebody's business. That don't work. That's all I got to say.
okay, thank you. And that brings us to adjournment.
Oh, time?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion adjourned.
Second.
10:25. Now I gotta put these in order. Now, this one.
For the confidence